Storms and flooding blamed in the central U.S. blamed for 2 deaths in Kentucky and 1 in Arkansas. The National Weather Service confirming a tornado touchdown in Tennessee, destroying at least 4 homes.
It's part of a major rain system that folks have been dealing with in the center of the country, now shifting to the east here all the way through the weekend.
Fox News meteorologist Adam Klotz. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News Radio.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
The car of the year is here. The all-new 2018 Honda Accord. Only a Triple J. Total redesign inside and out. It's no surprise that it's Car and Driver's 10 Best a record 32 times. With all-new features like the Honda Sensing Standard, Bluetooth and reverse camera, an all-new touchscreen setup, and an all-new 1.5 and 2.0 turbo engines. Best in its class and equipped with Honda's first 10-speed transmission. You'll have to test drive for yourself or take a virtual 360-degree tour of the Accord online at triplejguam.com. Triple J, customers first.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manilao on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. It is 8 minutes past 6 a.m. this Monday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Guam lawmakers go back into session at 2 this afternoon to resume deliberations over Governor Calvo's proposal for a temporary increase in the business privilege tax. The tax proposed by the governor calls for boosting the BBT by 50% for 2 years, from 4% now to 6%, then leaving 0.75% in place after those 2 years to serve as a dedicated source of funding for GMH. Yesterday, the governor issued a warning to senators against watering down his proposal, that following his call on Friday for lawmakers to resign if they failed to act on resolving the current fiscal crisis, which the administration warns threatens payless paydays in March and the loss of critical public services. In his release yesterday, the governor called out Republican Senator Joe San Augustine, saying San Augustine has been hired twice by this administration when he needed employment as a result of his loss in previous elections. He, of all people, states the governor in the release, should know the gravity of and the end of personal consequences of being unemployed. The Department of Public Health and Social Services is currently in the process of procuring an interim vendor by April to provide adult daycare, case management, and in-home services to over 2,000 senior citizens. Catholic Social Services has been providing those services to island seniors, but recently announced they would not be renewing their contract with GovGuam when it expires on March 31st because of non-payment and late payments. In 2017, the services to seniors cost the government $3.5 million. We'll have more news after this.
In celebration of 42 years with you, the A.B. Wonpat International Airport Authority is giving one lucky winner a $1,500 travel voucher to fly anywhere United Airlines flies. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram to enter. Do both and check out the details to increase your chance of winning. It's our way of saying thanks for trust and support in your airport. So what are you waiting for? Like, follow, and fly today. Guam International Airport, celebrating 42 with you.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
News time here at The Point is 11 minutes past 6 a.m. Guam Regional Medical City filing a motion to dismiss a medical malpractice lawsuit filed by a former patient who alleges hospital staff attempted to harvest a skin graft from the wrong leg and used the wrong equipment for the procedure. Albert Cruz, who is represented by attorney David Lujan, alleges he was treated at GRMC in January of 2017 for various medical issues. After 3 weeks in the hospital, personnel determined that a skin graft operation needed to be performed. When he awoke, Cruz said that the skin graft was taken from the wrong leg, according to the lawsuit. GRMC argues the court has no jurisdiction because the matter has not been arbitrated. Superior Court is scheduled to hear the motion in March. Local Catholic clergy and lay people seeking solutions to the decline in the Catholic faithful on Guam. A recent survey found that less than 50% of Guam's population presently identifies as Catholic. The results of the survey showed that the number of Catholic baptisms, weddings, school enrollment, and even church attendance is down, while Guam's population has grown. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Right now with the weather.
Says here, partly cloudy with isolated showers. East winds to about 20 miles an hour, and daytime highs should be about 89 degrees for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, some more isolated showers. Winds up to about 15 miles an hour to this evening, and overnight lows of about 76 degrees. The Mike Knight synopsis. Models paint an uneventful week ahead. We're talking about weather. By the way.
Yeah. Well, that could cover many levels, yeah.
Legislature, governor's office, no, a whole lot of stuff going on there. But on the weather side, we get a break. Not a whole lot happening, just a few showers in store for the region. An approaching trough will bring a few showers to Guam today and tonight. Continued dryness will cause the fire danger to increase over the week, so careful with the cigarette butts and flamethrowers while you're out there. 6:11, that's news and weather together here on The Point.
As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
The program brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant's always open, always local.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase, every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Subway's got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouthwatering greatness of their seafood sensation, or try the tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and artificial flavors. Visit any one of the convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh, it's what they do.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Lots of food talk this morning early, huh?
That's right.
Hey, if you like fish, celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's with their wild-caught North Pacific cod breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp drizzled in a new creamy dill tartar sauce and a crispy pickle right there on top. Wendy's Cod Filet, now that's better.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Louise Muña on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Was too long. I'm sure I've forgotten something important as we start the program. I've got the live feeds are going. We've got the thing happening on online at thepoint.gu. I was looking over some of the metrics here. I just love the way the numbers consistently go up as day by day by day, week after week after week.
Isn't that nice?
Well, people are watching us. Yeah. Well, people are watching you.
I hope not.
They're watching you. I said, people go, hey, but never mind Ray. We need more Kevin on the line. Is there another button we can push that gets mostly Kevin on? And wait a second. No, that's not the one that does it. There it is. That's the one that does all Kevin all the time here on the morning show on The Point.
Not what I want to see in the morning. Okay, Kev.
And somebody asked the other day, said, where's Mike's cam? Look, it's where it's going. Trust me, this is where broadcasting, at least radio broadcasting, is going. So we got the visual radio component. I think I pressed all of the right buttons to get everybody on the air. And somebody said we did a thing last week. We did an interview, and there was at least one person that was talking, but you couldn't get seen. And a few of the people that watch say you got to invest in a couple more cameras. So we got a couple more cameras that are going to be coming in before too much longer. We will just add to everything that we do here. The goal is to try to have as many cameras as the legislature.
You mean radio is going to TV? What is happening?
When you and I were younger, when all three of us were younger, there was, the revolution came in the form of a transistor radio, something that you could hold in your hand, stick under your pillow, and listen to at night and do all of that stuff, right? And
that was the magic of radio. You could imagine.
We imagine, yes.
You heard the voices, but you had to imagine the people behind those voices.
I don't know if people want to have to take the time and trouble to imagine things anymore. Just put it up in front of me.
Just give it to me. Right?
Yeah, I'll figure the rest of it out. But even in car radios, where there's still a lot of real estate that we own. Even that's eventually going to change when we start doing driverless cars. Are you ready for that?
Oh, not at all.
Did you just see the eye roll? Did you?
I'm not getting in.
I don't even like riding passenger in a driver car. So
where are the brakes here? Where are the brakes? See, this is why you need to be watching. Is it Kevin Kerrigan eye rolled there? That was you're better than my daughter. She's 12, going on 13.
No way.
That was great. I wonder how much eye rolling there was. I'm trying to build in time before we get to the inevitable part of the conversation, which is going to be the fireworks that lit off Friday over at the legislature.
That was something,
wasn't it?
Oh boy, entertaining. No. Serious business.
Not being an elected member of the legislative body and concerned that I might have to turn in my resignation if I make any changes to the governor's legislation.
They didn't take too kindly.
They took it a lot kinder than I think others would have. Maybe a different body, a different kind of legislature. You go back one or two, I think there would have been people that would have said, "You out."
Do you think the language was so strong because he's lame duck? Or would he have said that 2 years ago as well?
I mean, there was an occasion about 4 or 5 years ago where he also went down to the legislature when they were in the old building. Remember? I think it was over the...
probably the same thing.
Was it a
hospital?
Yeah, the funding,
Department
the
of Education,
gaming tax
retirement.
for the hospital back then, and he came down and spoke to lawmakers while they were in session.
You know, it's a rare enough event that somebody will remember. 888-8255 if you remember what the deal was. But Friday was kind of interesting. I knew that he was there lurking, which is the only way that just kind of watching the process. And then Will Castro got the nod from somebody that said, say something so that we can get this guy up there.
They started off with a compromise.
Yeah.
The governor was willing to limit the tax increase to just 1 year instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went downhill from there.
Yeah. The comments were made about you should resign if you do this. I found that place in the video. And I might play that a little bit later on, just for people that missed it, and for a lot of people that were. It was a regular Friday, a lot of stuff going on. Pick up the kids from school, plan out the weekend. There's a number of political get-togethers that took place over the weekend. So I will forgive you the part about where you're being distracted by, I don't know, life in general, and didn't have a chance to see what was happening on television. So I'll see if I can play you the salient parts of it where Eddie got up and maybe even a little bit after that when Talana Nelson, Senator Nelson, made her response about, hey, I really respect you. I consider you a great guy, but don't come into this house and start harassing us. Harassing was the term that they used. PDN said bullying, which I thought was an interesting term. Even the Mariana's Variety, the Daily Post. Boy, that's an old habit I'm going to break one of these days. Even the Daily Post.
I'll help you.
Their editorial contribution this morning was pointed at the remarks that the governor made, the way the governor made those remarks. Lee Weber, who's probably doing his morning constitutional right now, had written largely the same thing. And I go back to something my grandfather, who served in the 8th Guam legislature years ago, had said, and a lesson that he stays with me, and I can hear it in his voice, even though he's been gone since 1975, is you can attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Now, you got to remember, when he said that to me, I was like 12, 13 years old, and I'm going, why would you want to attract flies to begin with? And he'd kind of look at me and say, you're missing the point. You're missing the point here. So, but as you get older, you start to understand a little bit more of that. So obviously that's going to be a big part of the conversation in the next couple of hours. They're going to go back into session at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And even that was a conversation towards the end. I think it was Democrat Joe San-Augustin that was sitting there.
That's correct.
Listening to a little bit of, because I'm sorry, there's so many things in my head this long weekend, right? So the governor goes down there, says, I'll work with ya. He says it like that, I'll work with ya. And, we'll find out where the common ground has got to be, but you can't just vote this thing down. You can't make too many changes. And if you don't come back with it, you ought to just resign. Just quit your day jobs because it's not going to work. And
Joe said, I think we need to take a pause.
But even before that, you got B.J. Cruz, who had been offering some amendments that he thought was going to be all right. And almost every amendment that he introduced was sidelined by the Republicans that were down there holding the water for Eddie. And so when finally, after the governor's speech and after he comes down there and there's a little bit of that, I'll work with you, then all of a sudden the press office at Adelup sends out a thing about how B.J. Cruz introduces an amendment that signs the death warrant for Guam Memorial Hospital.
Speaker Cruz's amendment issues death warrant to GMH. Right, and he was disappointed in that and said, "That's it.
That's it.
Yep, no
I'm
more."
done. I'm not going to bother to try to find any. You guys vote up and down if you want to. Senator Mike Subnicholas, and he must have typed this up the night before, because the points that he was making were just fantastic as he goes through here and the scare tactics and the harassment and all of this stuff. And he says, you know how it's going to end. He sounded like a battered spouse, frankly. He says, you know how this is going to end for us. So I say, let's go in here, vote this thing down, and then send it back to the governor's office and tell him to follow the law. Come back down here next time with your fiscal plan, which calls for, I suppose, some degree of reorganization.
The fiscal realignment plan. That's what they want to see.
Okay, so this is what I have been saying for the last week. Is all right. So BJ's bill with a public hearing and didn't get the kind of support that he was looking for, and so he's put that back in the drawer. And so all they're left with is the governor's legislation, which I don't believe they have to do anything with. They'll leave that thing parked in committee until kingdom come if they want to. But still, at the end of the day, the governor's problem. So if you need anything, come on down here with your fiscal realignment plan, and we'll take it from there. But we're not, in an election year, as things are, going to be going out there and asking 160,000 people, 165,000 people or so, to increase their taxes.
The clock is ticking, though. Payless paydays.
When?
March begins at the end of this week.
I know, but when in March? When is it?
Well, that's one of the questions that was asked, and perhaps it'll get answered this afternoon.
I don't know. Everybody going to be standing by pins and needles. I'm telling you, just go in, 2 o'clock, get the bill out there. Do the roll call. Who likes it? And raise your hand if you like it. And if you don't like it, don't raise your hand. And we'll do this a couple of times in a room and then see what happens. But it seems to me that's the path of least action. They tell me strategically over at the legislature, they tell me, they say, Ray, we should have, if they were going to do that, they should have done it on Friday. And the reason is because the governor has had all weekend long to consolidate his position, to gather power at the legislature unto himself, to find some of those rogue Democrats who might be able to be swayed to his, like Dennis, who might be able to be swayed over to his side.
We'll see.
And I wonder if there's been any of that. Of course, he could go over and remind everybody, so remember when you didn't get elected, who gave you a job? I gave you a job. You owe me. I'll put it in there in a statement. That's actually part of a press release that went out.
Yeah, that was a statement that was released over the weekend.
Dude, just tweet.
Reminder.
Just tweet. So have you seen the meme? Did you see?
No.
If you go to thepoint.gu on the world, the Points page on Facebook. I'm sorry, as I said, a lot going on, a lot in my head right now. If you go there, and if you follow me personally on Facebook, in my timeline, I received over the weekend a video, and it is a video of. This is people with a lot of time, very creative. What these guys did is they took a video of North Korea and had subtitled the President Kim Il-jung, but they took out his face, right? And they superimposed Eddie's face on it.
Oh, no.
And so they're speaking in North Korean underneath, but the subtitles are all of some of the things that Eddie said over at the legislature. It is to laugh. It is to laugh. I suggest that you go and you take a look for some of those things. I'll see if I can dig that one out and stick it online on the viewers thing as well. Sorry, just in. I want to say good morning to Kim from Security Title. And I know that their spots are in production. That means that they're making their commercials. And they were going to start today. And I said, you know what? I know all about it. I've used security, all the big transactions, buying and selling that I've managed to do in my young life, I've done with them in my corner. And I suggest you do too. Security title, making sure you actually own the property you think you just bought. Security title when you absolutely need confidentiality in your real estate transactions. And security title providing solutions for complex real estate transactions. Oh, I think I'm only supposed to read those one at a time, right? Well, I got the whole thing out. I got this every marketing line they've got there.
That's better.
All right. Anyway, so give them a jingle. If you're buying something or you're selling something, make sure that you've got these guys in at least one step of the transaction, because they're just going to make it that much smoother when they do. All right. Other items in the table of contents. Well, there might be one or two that are interesting to talk about in the world of sports. And we normally do a sports thing when Blake Watson comes in about 8 o'clock, but I will, in a few minutes, attempt to speak to Mark Colby, who is the voice of the GML. And they're supposed to do GML, but they can't because of the disastrous, ruinous state that the Paseo Stadium is in.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Didn't they just fix it?
The last year for FestPac, yeah? Well, remember they had a lot of events.
Yeah, we need to have everything fixed in time for FestPac, and there have been a couple of concerts on the actual field where the games would be played. So between the FestPac activity and the concert activities, apparently the grounds cannot be used. But even worse,
rebar.
Yeah, we've got some spalling in the concrete and I'm wondering, weren't they supposed to have fixed that last time, or did all they do was just some cosmetic stuff? We'll
a little paint,
some spackle. Let's put some spackle up there,
duct tape,
and don't touch it. Don't look at it because it might fall down on you. So apparently there's not any of that going to be happening, and they can't. As I understand it, they can't go to Leo Palace for these games. For what? I'll find out why. Which means there might not be no baseball in Mudville.
Yeah, that's a great field out at Leo Palace.
Oh,
I've been there several times. It's really nice.
This is my view. When I drive into Leo Palace, I feel like I'm driving into another state. Just all of a sudden, hey, look, everything here it's clean and it's nice and it works. Wow. How do we whatever it is that they have at Leo, how do we make it so it spreads out towards, in all directions? Just a thought.
Raise taxes.
Raise taxes. Hey, well, if you want all those things, then fine. Then raise taxes. I don't want to raise taxes if all we're going to be doing is supporting more bodies. I need more services, which are what a lot of people are saying these days. We got to get into some headlines here this morning. It's 6:30 on The Point, and from The Post, this is Kevin Kerrigan.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. Here's a look at some of the headlines from the Guam Daily Post. At least 3 Department of Corrections officers intend to appeal whatever adverse action is imposed on them in connection with the December murder of a detainee at the Agana lockup. Guam Federation of Teachers Union Representative Robert Koss saying that the officers are being held accountable for the inmate's death, but the officers disagree. In all, 7 officers were issued notices of adverse action in connection with the death of Ernst Manson. They're accused of dereliction of duty. 3 are represented by the GFT. Management can choose to suspend, demote, or terminate the officers based on their findings, but Koss says the 3 officers he represents will ask management to reconsider any proposed action against them in response to their filing today. Property owners of land condemned for the Ordad dump have agreed to settle for $2.3 million. That's millions less than the $41 million at least one appraiser valued the property at. The case was filed back in July 2015. Over 43,000 square meters of land owned by Pan Micronesian Development Corp. And Columbus Development Corporation. The stipulated judgment of $2.3 million would require the government to pay $1,039,000 within 30 days of the signing to the 2 corporations and the law firm of Berman, O'Connor and Mann. The $850,000 balance would be a tax credit. Settlement is pending final approval by the court. A proposal to construct a 6-story specialty medical clinic on Ipao Road met with resistance at the Guam Land Use Commission meeting last week. In a discussion that divided the commission, the application to allow a height and use variance for the property in Tamuning was denied because of continued road improvements currently planned for the area and questions about infrastructure needs. LZ Company, represented by Mark Zhao and Dr. Peter Lombard, had filed the application. Zhao and Lombard were planning a 6-story specialty medical clinic on Ipoh Road, but residents expressed concern about the increased traffic and increased pressure on the area's limited water and wastewater infrastructure. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
Rain. It's nature's way of cleansing the earth. Yet by the time that rainwater makes its way to your home, it may not be exactly the same as nature created it. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve the quality of the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home, so you can be sure your water is clear, clean, and fresh, just as nature intended it to be. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water, better water. Call American Water Tech, 649-2301, or email info@americanwatertech.com. As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
No traffic to speak of here this morning. In fact, I know how little traffic there is because I actually had to come to work twice today. Once when I came in and I tried to put my key in the hole into my office, and I realized they didn't have the key that goes in the hole, so I had to run home and get it.
You know, they say being forgetful is a sign that you're an extremely intelligent person. That's what they say. I don't know who they are.
I've heard that before, but I forgot who said it. So here's what the traffic is starting to look like right now. You might see some activity down in Agate Santa Rita northbound as you're trying to get out of the village and then towards the naval base down in Sumai, and that roadway there will back up a little bit. It's starting. I don't want to say back up. I think that even at this point is a little bit premature. You might start seeing traffic build between Polaris Point and their Route 10 coming out of the intersection of Route 4, and then of course over by the gas stations in front of the University of Guam, GCC, GW, that kind of area, beginning to look a little bit heavy as well. 6:35 news, weather together, traffic here, and more on The Point.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every 4-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
The Ray Gibson Show. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
6:36, and a little bit of a town hall feel that we like to have here in the program, because otherwise it's just me listening to my own head roar. Some headlines and more with Kevin, Mike's side, and pushing the buttons in the studio and picking up the phone when you call is Mike Knight, 888-8255. And we don't always talk about the political drama that takes place, and what I have referred to as political gossip in the last couple of years. There are other things that we need to talk about. I was delighted to hear that the Guahan Academy is not going to have their kids kicked out. Looks like CSS. They might have found a replacement for the staff and the team over at CSS and the work that they're doing at Public Health. More on that in just a little bit. But when it comes to recreation, and I remember growing up, and one of my favorite things was to be able to walk from Grandma's house across Marine Corps Drive over to the Paseo and watch some great baseball in the stands over at the Paseo. And it was Joe Adda's administration where they took it and turned it into almost a professional-looking stadium with a nice front door and comfortable seats and ramps that you could go up and down at. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, someplace to go and buy a cold beer.
That is correct.
Well, some great old times that we've had there. Watched a couple of concerts once or twice. FestPac took place. And I guess the thinking was, as soon as we're all done with all of that stuff, we'll bring in the equipment and the machines that are required to put the field back in place. But that hasn't happened. With me on the line right now is Mark Colby, and you love his voice, the voice of the GML, as a matter of fact. But it looks like you're going to be sidelined, huh?
That's correct. First of all, thank you, and good morning, and thanks for having me on the show, Ray. Yeah, you know, the GML, we had the 2015 season, the 2015 championship. We actually had that season split due to some activities that were taking place in preparation for the 2016 FestPacs.
Yeah.
And, of course, as you know, in 2015, the end of our championship season, they closed the doors. They said they were going to be doing the renovations. You know, all of us in the baseball community, we were all very happy, you know, thinking, hey, you know, after years and years, they're going to finally do some work on this place. 2016, they did the FestPac, and they said that, you know, I actually heard from the commissioner after the summertime that we're going to be going back in. We'll have a late season. We'll still have the 2016 season. Unfortunately, I went down there myself with a couple of friends, and we took a look at the stadium, and they really only did cosmetics. They painted the building, and they put new seats, which, you know, was well overdue. But the structure was still the same. And to be honest with you, the structure had its problems even in 2014, 2012, 2010. But they said they were going to fix it. 2016 went and came and gone. 2017, you know, in my eyes, I was like, okay, they're going to do some more renovations. Let's just hope that they take care of it. And they actually destroyed the field, to be all honest.
It sounds like it. You know, I remember, and there are guys like yourself that have done this before. As Dennis Zermano stands out in my mind and in my memory. Another one of the voice of baseball on Guam, and he took almost a pride of ownership in every blade of grass and every clump of dirt on the pitcher's mound at that old stadium. And it looks like that kind of personal investment now in what I think is a significant piece of our athletic infrastructure is gone.
That's true. I was, you know, a big advocate and voice saying how, you know, they can't destroy a diamond. You know, in baseball terms, the baseball field, the infield is called a diamond. And, you know, they did a concert. They did the Boyz II Men concert earlier, in December. Mm-hmm. And I even was advocating, hey, you know, stop playing on a diamond. Diamonds are for baseball, not for concerts. But, you know, powers that be, they use the facilities wrongfully, and now the structure is, you know, deemed unusable. The thing that really irks me is like I said, 2016 came and left. 2017, the field was in shambles still, and they said we're going to get it ready. Visitors Bureau said they were going to fix it up. Parks and Rec said they were going to take care of it. What happened to all the money? That's, you know, I mean, I'm more than just the announcer for the GML. I'm a fan. I went, like you said, I grew up going to the games. You know, I do take pride in Paseo Stadium. I consider it a second home. You know, I've always enjoyed going to watch the games. So I'm just really, you know, I'm at the point where I'm really, really upset.
And obviously there's room for especially after you are told, and especially after the teams now have been told that they were going to have some place to play. And now all of a sudden it's just not going to happen. And I don't know, even if they came up and said, yes, okay, we heard Mark on the radio this morning, we are going to get our butts in gear and get this stadium back together. There's no money for it now. There's not. They're in the midst of a battle over at the legislature on how they're dealing with the no money situation that we've got now, even less so to be able to go in and, number one, take care of the issues that you have on the field, no field, no games. And then you've got the whole stadium side where, frankly, I wouldn't sit under any of the concrete because of the spalling. I'm worried a chunk of it might land in my head.
You're absolutely correct.
So forget about the batter getting a helmet. I'm going to want one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even me up in the press box with the foul balls, I've had my share of fair foul ball hits in the head, and there is no place in the stadium that's safe, whether it's a flying ball or falling concrete. But the issue is they closed us out, and they said they were going to do the repairs. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they didn't do the repairs. So where'd all the money go?
I couldn't answer that question. I'd be hard pressed. I'd be hard pressed to see. You're getting a lot of support in the social media. I hope you recognize that. I don't know, and we're all going, all right, fine. We'll figure out what it's going to take for the government of Guam or the Department of Parks and Recreation or whoever it is that we need to talk to about getting that back into a playable shape and something that people are comfortable and not petrified of going to go and watch a game at. I don't anticipate that that's going to happen soon. But as far as getting this new season lit off, what are your options there?
According to the league board, we're on standby. We're not going to be able to get into Paseo due to its disarray.
Okay.
And Leo Palace apparently is not an option. I know that, in the past when Paseo was in shambles with the lights coming down after, I think it was Pang Sang Hua back in 2000, they pushed us over to Chalampago and the lower side Leo Palace. But I don't believe it's a vital option that we can use. So we're just on hold. And, the sad thing, like you're mentioning, the teams were all ready. And I personally, I'm the one that's in charge of the Facebook page. And, I've been on hold to put anything out, to get it to the information, to the fans, to the media, because I wanted to make sure we were solid. Year after year, like I said, the commissioner said we'll be ready to rock and roll before the end of 2016 in the summer, but that didn't happen due to, we need to do some more work on the field. And then, this time around, I actually really felt that, wow, we're ready to go. I went down to the stadium. I saw it look the same in regards to, the crack that I saw 4 years ago is still there. But the field is looking like it's ready to go. Maybe they just need to trim it up, and we'll be ready to play. And
have there not been games played at Paseo recently?
See, and that's the thing. If we're not allowed to come into the stadium, then why did they allow the high schools to use it during the championships that they had recently?
That's the word that I'm getting. IIAG had their playoffs there. Micronesian Baseball Cup in January. Guam high school teams had 3 games there versus a team from Korea. So there was something happening there.
But that's what I just don't. As a fan, I just don't comprehend how is it that they were able to allow others, but now they're saying, "Oh no, it's unsafe. Can't use it." And this is above the GML. This is coming from the director of Parks and Rec. So why is it that he was able to allow others and we're not able to get it?
Maybe a lawyer got to him and said, "Don't under any circumstances let anybody within 5 feet of the entrance."
Well, in my opinion, stadiums had its issues, in the past.
Oh, I get that. I'm the Parks and Rec's office side, the one closest to Jamaican Grill. I remember when that was one of the signature pieces of this beautiful stadium that we had constructed, and it had begun rusting and falling apart. And I think they demolished it and put something else up in its place. But as you say, that was purely cosmetic then, huh?
No, what that structure was initially a gymnasium, but then it became a car lot for Guam vehicles. There were vehicles parked inside.
What a mess!
And, out of service vehicles, because it's a GovGuam entity.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, and I've said this in the past, and I feel this, that if you take a look at any stadium in the States, it's privately owned by whether it's an entity, a corporation, or an individual or family. And I know it's a far-fetched idea, but Paseo Stadium should not be in the control of the government of Guam. It needs to be privately operated because the owner will look at the seats. Oh, my seats are bad. I need to replace them. Unfortunately, that may increase the price of a ticket to get into the ballpark. But in the long run, like you mentioned, Paseo was built under the Ada administration, and it was prestige. And you look at Leo Palace. Leo Palace is privately owned and operated. We need, I know it's beating a dead horse with a stick, but in my eyes, Paseo needs to be taken out of the hands of the government of Guam's operations. It needs to be maintained, controlled, and managed. Whether it's even leased out, that would probably be a viable option. Lease it out to some company or family organization who's willing to put in the effort and the money to rebuild the structure properly and have it running in a manner that it will attract Japan again. It will attract the Korean teams. It will attract other tournaments from across the Marianas, which we have done in the past years.
And you could still do some of those things. I mean, it's not unheard of to have a stadium facility that will operate as a concert venue when it needs to operate as a concert venue and keep the lights on and keep the money coming in.
But it needs to be properly done because with the government, they don't currently have, in the past, I don't know about the new administration, but the past, the peoples that were inside Paseo Stadium on a nightly basis did not properly maintain the facilities.
That is a litany of the government of Guam. I remember when they bought the hospital when it was brand new and bought it from the nuns, and I remember looking at that, and it wasn't much long afterwards that it looked just like the old hospital. You talk to anybody that went to Southern High when that school was brand new, and it didn't take very long for that to turn into to start looking like all of the other schools that we have, and a swimming pool, an Olympic class swimming pool down at Southern that we never actually got around to using more than once or twice. Speaking of Olympics, Kevin had a question for you.
Well, Tokyo Summer Olympics coming up. Lots of training opportunities. Guam is pretty close. A lot of people have been talking about the need for facilities.
You're right. I know that, in the past we used, Leo Palace and Paseo Stadium and the Harmon area. We have the facilities. We just need the personnel and the financing to maintain these structures, to keep them up to par with excellence. But we're lacking that.
Yeah, maybe not this year, Mark. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Right. My goal here is to gin up a little bit more attention on the issue. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of baseball families. Baseball is a big sport here on Guam. I mean, it's massive. We've never had enough playing fields for all of the incredible talent that we have. And as I said, you got names like Dennis Zermeno and Mark Flynn, right? Didn't he go on to do all kinds of things with build up baseball down in Fiji?
Yes, that's correct. You even got Jerry Cruz, who, he's still active with the baseball community, working with the Masters.
Yes.
He's on the shutout list right now because, Paseo is closed. The Masters were set to play the day after we start, but we're all out in the dark now.
I wish you very good luck. You've got a friendly ear here and access to microphones whenever you need it. So if you need to get back on the radio at some point and hold somebody's feet to the fire, or look for and encourage, as you say, this public-private participation, you're right. It's how we build stadiums in the States. We go to a bank, we go to an insurance company. Who else has money? No, just those two. those are the only two industries that got any more money these days. Maybe a beverage company, a car dealership. Docomo did a good job building their new building down the street. Maybe they've got a couple of leftover bucks. If not leftover bucks, how about a few sacks of concrete?
There you go. That's all it really needs.
I got you. I wish you good luck, buddy.
I wish you too. I will keep the page updated, the Guam Major League Facebook page. If in the event that something occurs, I will be keeping that page updated for all the friends, family, and players that are out there.
Reach out to me when you need it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray.
Happy to help. Mark Colby, the voice of GML. It's always nice to get another great sounding voice on the radio. Yeah, every once in a while, people say, "What else is it that you want to do with the Point radio station?" And I remember back in the day, there'd be a guy like Dennis Zermano calling baseball on the radio, and it still sounds good. You get somebody that knows how to do it. There's nothing that beats that sound. You're almost there in the stadium. Did you ever do that?
I've done it. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You and Mark can go out there because it's the same game. You just got to remember everybody's names, right?
Yeah, I did. I was doing minor league baseball down in South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, the Louisiana Rio Grande Valley League, the Harlingen White Wings. They called them the Rio Grande Valley White Wings. That's because of the flour company down there, White Wing Flour. So, yeah. Called a couple of seasons.
So you bring out a couple of companies with some big bucks in their pocket that might want to be associated with something as clean and as wholesome as playing baseball.
They should sign up Home Depot. Got all the supplies right there.
That's true. That's true. 654. This is the Point radio station. The program is called The Ray Gibson Show. My name is Ray. Kevin's got some news coming up for you. We've been working on some stuff between here and there. I'm going to try to do something. I haven't normally would do something. I'd rehearsed this, but I think there's enough time left in the program, and if I did it right, I might have the governor queued up to where he started to admonish, if you will, or get a little bit more, I don't want to say hostile sounding, but he definitely had a tenor to his voice that I think the folks over at the legislature interpreted as hostility, as bullying, as harassment. This may or may not be it, but maybe just to hear what it sounded like Friday at the legislature. You got me all set up on the really? That's funny because I can't hear it. Yeah, this is one of those things. I tell you what. Well, let me line this up for the next hour and see if we can get the audio to play with the video. You can see it on the screen. His lips are moving, but nothing is coming out. And for some people, that's the preferred way to take it.
Oh, Ray, you're going to get into trouble.
For what? For what? I'm just saying thoughts that pop into my head. Are you suggesting that I should put some kind of filter in the thing?
Lips moving, but nothing coming out.
That's 2 o'clock this afternoon. There's going to be some more of that over at the legislature. So you take what Mark's talking about, and this is not new. Trump did not do this to the Paseo. The same way that Trump did not do to CSS and their clients. What has transpired so that CSS has decided after 30 years that they're getting out of the game. No mas, can't do it anymore.
I'm thinking, though, with the Olympics coming up, and the people have talked about this, that the U.S. Olympic Committee or some corporate sponsor like Home Depot might want to come out here, invest a little, and provide training facilities for athletes that want to participate in the Olympics.
NRA.
They've lost a few sponsors recently.
They've had a tough weekend. They might be looking out for some fun here, and this might be a good place, just far enough away from everything, so that you can get something going. Actually, they're in my head because that has been a big topic of conversation in the social medias in the national scene. Is the NRA and a number of pretty big guys, Delta United. I think all of the major, at least 3 of the major car dealerships have come out and said we can't support you anymore.
Yes, that's right. Too bad for the NRA. But get one of those other corporate sponsors, the names that you just mentioned, to come in here,
Delta,
invest some money in the stadium, and advertise it as a training facility for Olympic athletes. Huh?
Can't do Delta. They're pulling up.
Bring them back.
United,
yeah,
it's reducing flights between here and there. JAL is increasing a flight, but I think it's just is it Narita? No, Nagoya.
And it's for 6 months, but still, that's pretty good news.
Yeah, just look, any way that we can beef up the arrivals into town is going to end up being good news for everybody. 888-8255 is the phone number. The reason why I brought up the NRA is another story that you might be looking at, reports coming out And they've finally been able to sift through some things and done some analysis. And there is a concern that violent crime could be on the increase this year into next year. Why is that? People on drugs. There's people that have got gambling issues that they've got to deal with. There's certainly people with mental health issues. Anybody that does any amount of running while it's still dark outside can attest to the fact that there is a whole bunch of crazy out there. And you wonder what it is that you can do about it. I've got a couple of ideas. There's a lady, a delightful Japanese lady, Mutsuko Minegishi, and she is a sensei of incredible worldwide repute here on Guam in the field of Aikido, and will from time to time put together classes specifically for women in order to get yourself out of trouble and get yourself out of the scene as quickly and as safely as possible. Failing that now, if you want to, call the NRA. Actually go to their website, nra.org, and do a search on instructors. There's several here on Guam that can take you through a gun safety course. We'll see if we can talk to one in the coming hours of the program. It is 7 a.m. on KUSG, Hagutnya, Guam, headquarters for Fox News. We do it live every single hour of every day, including this one. Now, from the Fox Radio Network.
Calls growing for his badge. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel under pressure from critics to resign for the response to the Florida school shooting.
He's trying to clarify that on the day of the shooting, there was only one deputy on the campus during the actual attack, and that was his school resource officer, who has since been removed. He's clarifying that any other responding officers or deputies arrived after the shooter had already fled. The sheriff also trying to clarify that his deputies responded to 18 calls about this school shooter, and that 16 of the 18 calls were handled correctly, but admits that 2 out of 18 of those calls are under investigation.
Fox's Matt Finn at the high school in Parkland. Governor Rick Scott calling for an independent probe. The sheriff says he welcomes an investigation. Reaction coming into the Democrats' rebuttal memo to a Republican memo alleging FBI misconduct during the Russia investigation. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Steve, the Democratic memo disputes GOP beliefs that the dossier alleging Trump campaign collusion with Russia led to a warrant against Trump advisor Carter Page. On Fox News Sunday, House Intelligence Committee member Jim Himes, a Connecticut Democrat, says Page was suspicious prior to that.
As our memo makes clear, Carter Page was of interest for his connections to the Russians for years before 2016.
President Trump called in to Fox's Justice with Judge Janine to say the Democrat memo shows no collusion and that President Obama was warned about Russia election meddling, but did nothing, Steve.
Gernal, good news and bad news at the gas pumps.
We have a decline at the pump, 6.5 cents over the past 2 weeks, with the new average per regular at $2.59. I expect that it can't last and that prices will stop dropping and probably rise instead.
Industry analyst Trilby Lundberg, San Francisco has the highest price in the continental U.S. at $3.38 a gallon. Fox News, fair and balanced.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Time starts now. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat? Where can you find the answers to these questions?
Car crashes are one of the leading killers of U.S. children. Many of those deaths could be prevented by making sure that kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Tomorrow marks 25 years since the first bombing of the World Trade Center. 6 people were killed and over 1,000 injured. The attack led to safety improvements that helped save lives on September 11, 2001. The Pyeongchang Winter Olympics are in the books, with Team USA taking home 23 medals. President Trump sending his daughter Ivanka to the closing ceremonies.
She was smiling with South Korean President Moon. She was standing for the Korean team when it entered the stadium, but with apparently no interaction with a senior North Korean official nearby. She might have had some help from the South Koreans. They told us that they plan to do things a little bit differently than they did with the opening ceremony, when you saw Vice President Pence staring straight ahead, avoiding the North Koreans. They jostled the seating arrangements and gave her a little bit more of a friendly arrangement than the Vice President had.
Fox's Greg Palcott in South Korea. The country's president saying North Korea is interested in direct talks with Washington. The White House insisting North Korea give up its nuclear program before any dialogue can take place. 1 week away from Hollywood's biggest night.
Jimmy Kimmel once again takes the stage as host for the 90th Annual Academy Awards.
Perhaps I would just warn you about the tale of love and loss.
Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water heads into the night with the most nominations, 13. Dunkirk, which has been a no-show, many of the other award shows, followed with 8. 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. The one that has been grabbing the most trophies elsewhere has 7. Those 3 all earned Best Picture nominations. They will compete against Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Get Out, Phantom Thread, Lady Bird, and The Post. The Oscars will air live on ABC March 4th. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Samsung unveiling its next generation of smartphones. The Galaxy S9 starts at more than $700. The phones will be available March 16th. Advance orders begin Friday. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News Radio.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE. The smarter choice.
Your place for Lent is at KFC. At KFC, you can be so good every day with the largest variety of seafood on Guam. Choose from our popcorn shrimp, fish fillet breaded shrimp, seafood salad and twister, the wasabi fish deluxe, or try the all-new shrimp and crab calaguin and twisters. And of course, we can't forget your favorite KFC's one and only original recipe chicken. This season, there's only one place for all your Lent favorites. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam. Member FDIC.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Louise Munia on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
Hafaday and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 7 a.m. this Monday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. Guam lawmakers back into session at 2 this afternoon to resume deliberations over Governor Calvo's proposal for a temporary increase in the business privilege tax. The tax increase proposed by the governor calls for boosting the BPT by 50% for 2 years, from 4% now to 6%, then leaving 0.75% in place after the 2 years to serve as a dedicated source of funding for Guam Memorial Hospital. Yesterday, the governor issued a warning to senators against watering down his proposal, that following his call on Friday for lawmakers to resign if they failed to act on resolving the current fiscal crisis, which the administration warns threatens payless paydays as soon as March and the loss of critical public services. Property owners of land condemned for the Ordot dump have agreed to settle for $2.3 million. That's millions less than the $41 million at least one appraiser valued the property at. Case was filed in July of 2015. Over 43,000 square meters of land owned by Pan Micronesian Development and Columbus Development. The stipulated judgment of $2.3 million would require the government to pay $1,039,000 within 30 days of the signing of the judgment to the two corporations and the law firm of Berman, O'Connor, and Mann. The $850,000 balance would be a tax credit. Settlement is pending a final approval by the court. Department of Public Health and Social Services currently in the process of procuring an interim vendor by April to provide adult daycare, case management, and in-home services to over 2,000 senior citizens on island. Catholic Social Services has been providing those services to island seniors, but recently announced they would not be renewing their contract with GovGuam when it expires on March 31st because of non-payment or late payments. In 2017, the services to seniors on Guam cost the government of Guam $3.5 million. More news after this.
As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's. More life happens here.
News time here at The Point is 11 minutes past 7 a.m. The Guam Power Authority has issued a bid request for a 40-megawatt solar energy farm to be built on land leased to the U.S. Navy. A release from GPA General Manager John Benavente says interested bidders can submit proposals beginning on April 17th. The bid request is Phase 3 of a renewable energy project the Power Authority has been developing for the past 3 years, which commenced with NRG reviewing opening of the Dandan Solar Farm. Benavente says Phase 3 solar projects will include more sophisticated battery storage in order to utilize stored energy later in the evening when power usage reaches its peak. Parent-teacher conferences slated today for Southern High School and J.P. Torres at Southern. The conferences slated to begin at 7 this morning, already begun, last until noon. And for J.P. Torres from 8 this morning until 1 this afternoon, there will be no school for those two schools only, J.P. Torres and Southern. All other island public schools are in session today. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Ray with the weather.
Yeah, he just says it like that, like I've got it right in front of me.
And you do. Right there.
Partly cloudy with isolated showers. Easterly winds up to about 20 miles an hour. Daytime high is 89 degrees. You know, Mike was talking a little bit earlier when he wrote this about how the approaching trough is going to bring a few showers to the island today and tonight. Well, it's showering outside right now in this part of town. You remember how to drive in that, right? Okay, good. Partly cloudy and isolated showers. Tonight, east winds to about 15 miles an hour and overnight lows of about 76 degrees. That's news and weather together on The Point.
In celebration of 42 years with you, the AB Wonpat International Airport Authority is giving one lucky winner a $1,500 travel voucher to fly anywhere United Airlines flies. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram to enter. Do both and check out the details to increase your chance of winning. It's our way of saying thanks for trust and support in your airport. So what are you waiting for? Like, follow, and fly today. Guam International Airport, celebrating 42 with you.
This program is brought to you by King's Restaurant. I like to use the announcer voice here, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open, always local.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manilao on Route 10. Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
The Ray Gibson Show, your new News Talk headquarters.
Suppose we ought to get around to doing some news talk here this morning. I was distracted while Kevin was doing his newscast. We have several video monitors in the studio, and most of them are so I can see myself. But every once in a while, we put one of them on the Bloomberg Business Week, and Mike pointed out that Bloomberg Business Week just a few minutes ago was doing a story about the casino, Best Life, Best Sunshine Life, whatever the name of it is, up in Saipan. And so I'm watching this thing, and I guess the question that Bloomberg is asking of their reporters and everybody is there have been, and even Governor Eddie Calvo was in here in the studio talking about how what kind of big money it is that's going through there. I mean, in the billions for this startup.
$2 billion a month.
Oh,
listen, a couple of years ago, that's what was reported.
This thing is much bigger than an Olive Garden in the States. How is it possible that they're able to bring in those kinds of dollars? And the last word on it was that they deep concerns about the way that they are going to come up with a legitimate explanation of how that money is coming through. Everybody up there says, hey, we're doing business on the up and up, and everything that we're doing here is absolutely above board legal.
About a week and a half ago, Bloomberg News Service published that story that got a lot of attention around here, and of course up in the CNMI.
Have they been sued for that?
Yes, that's the word that Imperial Pacific, which is the owner of the casino up there, has filed a lawsuit against Bloomberg.
I hope the casino is going to do well, because Eddie's talking about the casino business here on Guam, because we are in such desperate and scary straits here. So I don't know. 7:15. Let me take a look at some of the things that I do know on the West Texas crude. Yes, it's time for the market report. Market report music now playing in the background, so you know it's true. $63.55 for a barrel of West Texas crude. $67.51. That's $67.51 is what you are going to get charged if you were buying Tapis by the barrel, the raw product. The refined product, you already know where that one is for some at the gas stations here these days. I was looking at a little bit of a dip in the last few days, but it was unsustainable, and it is back up to about where it was when we first started the program back in early February. Other numbers that I like to look at, let's go take a look at where the markets left off on Friday. Oh, it's green. How pretty. 25,309 for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 347 points north for that particular index. NASDAQ at 73.37. They're up by 127 points in the S&P 500, closing up by 43 points to close at 2,747. You're interested in what's happening in the Japanese market. The Nikkei at 21,892. They're up by 150 points or so. And if you've got some money coming in on one of these flights from Japan, Narita, Nagoya, etc., the Japanese yen trading at 106.97 against the greenback today. So that's what's going on in the world of finance, at least in terms of what the markets are up to, and a couple of the indexes that I like to look at. One of the other things that we like to do at this time, because it's got kind of a businessy feel to it, is to hear from Jerry Roberts. He does a feature we call The Extra Point.
How George went from entry level in his company to star status. I'm Jerry Roberts, and that's right now on The Extra Point. I was living in an apartment complex in California in the 1990s when I met one of the neighbors, a guy named George. He worked in the shipping department for a parts manufacturer. He said it was monotonous work and a dead-end job. He basically looked turned off. The next time I saw George, it was at a tenant gathering, and it was a totally different story. He said work was going great, so I asked what had changed. George said he arrived one morning at the same time the owner rolled in, looking worried and carrying on an intense conversation on his phone about something to do with computers. Their eyes met, and the owner said, "You wouldn't happen to be a tech, would you? We've got a big problem, and our computer guy can't figure it out, and our vendor can't either." George told him no, but he did know a guy named Bruce who built computers and was an absolute genius. At 5 p.m., George was called to the owner's office, and he's asked to call Bruce, that everybody else was out of answers. George warned the boss that Bruce wasn't exactly the corporate type. The boss nodded, "No sweat, just get him here." Bruce showed up 2 hours later, looking like Grizzly Adams on a bad hair day, mismatched clothes, and in definite need of a shower. The boss suddenly looked nervous. Long story short, by midnight, George's assessment of Bruce proved true. He had hacked into the system and the company's database program, rewritten code for both, and everything was working smoothly. The boss was ecstatic. 2 weeks later, a key machine went down on a Friday afternoon, and a big product run was scheduled for Monday morning. No repairman was available. George volunteered to try to find a technician and got the boss to agree that he could spend some company money if it was necessary in finding one. George finally located his man in Phoenix on Saturday night, got him on a plane, put him up in a hotel, and on Sunday, the man fixed the machine and all was ready for the Monday jobs. The boss didn't need to see any more. He offered George a position in his office, essentially as a troubleshooter, with a bump in pay. George gleefully accepted the job. Look, CEOs and business owners love problem solvers. Take on projects at work that nobody else wants. Volunteer when others decline to step forward. Show your employer that you have what it takes to work through challenges, that you can solve problems, that you're a go-to person. It's a great reputation to have. That's the Extra Point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, I'm Jerry Roberts.
That's a good feature today. And if you would like a transcript of it, something that you'd like to give to whoever it is in charge of that kind of thing in your office, the employees, HR, whatever, go to guamtraining.com or go to thepoint.gu. Click on, right up at the top, there's a banner that says on air. Click on that. Jerry Roberts' name comes up first, and that'll take you to the website as well. 7:19. We'll be right back.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to MorricoEquipment.com.
Yeah, I've been looking at the traffic maps this morning, seeing if I can find some trouble, and looks like, yeah, we might be able to get a little bit happening over here. Heading into Hagåtña on Route 8 Alpha towards East Hagåtña Beach here, you might see a little bit of a slowdown at the intersection of Franquez Street. Up in Jigo, just because it's Monday, and there's a lot of people live up there that's trying to get south. And you'll see it start to get a little bit busy from the flea market area towards Guam Regional Medical City. Santos Hill, up the hill towards Marine Corps Drive, is starting to slow down a little bit. Traffic building in all of the usual places. It's a Monday morning, and that's what it's going to feel like on your roadways right now. That's traffic on The Point.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Yeah, you can count on us to stay well, Papa, to live well, Papa, to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, I'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
Special things only come around once a year, and it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses the gold standard for fried fish, wild-caught Northern Pacific cod, breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp. Add a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crisp pickles, and you've got the fish sandwich many say is the best of the bunch. Get yours today at Wendy's, located in Tamuning, Veragata, Hagåtña, Dededo, and Naval Base. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better.
I hear drums like this. You know who it reminds me of?
Buddy Rich?
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis. I'm serious. Jerry Lewis.
Not Jerry Lee, but
Look at me,
Jerry,
Dean,
funny
look
guy.
at me.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, what are you mad at, Dean? Are you mad? Jerry Lewis was an accomplished drummer, and every once in a while, when he'd do this, try to kill some time on the old telethons that he'd do, somebody did wheel out a drum kit, and he'd go and just wail on the skins, and he was good.
I remember when I was a kid watching it, and he had Buddy Rich on with him, and they were both lined up with a drum set, and it was 15 minutes of wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Can you imagine? So you that is worth a Google search, a YouTube search.
Amazing what you can find on YouTube.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's that. That's fact. That is a fact. Although I will tell you, I did spend some time binging over the weekend. There was a show that I started watching it with my old man when I went to go visit him over the holidays, and it's called Doc Martin. And it's Green Acres in southern Britain. Is the only way I can put it. A beautiful seaside town, and a fish out of water story about this. London. It was originally from there, when educated, got himself into the doctor business in London, and now is back in this beautiful little seaside town. He's changed. It hasn't. And some great characters in that show, because you need that. And one of the things that I like very much about the program, and in fact, very much about many of the shows that I'm binging on these days, is especially with the stuff I'm watching out of China, the stuff I'm watching out of Japan, the stuff I'm watching out of Korea, the stuff I'm watching from pretty much any place that's not the United States of America, is because all of these shows, most of the shows that I'm watching, zero identity politics, zero political agenda. It's just, here's an interesting story, a good yarn that needs to get told without having to go overboard on religion or politics or sexuality or any of that stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I've been binging on that kind of thing.
You're a fan of a unknown program. I've never heard of it.
And that's the great thing. I told you about This Is Our War, right? Which is a story, modern film and audio and editing techniques that are applied against great stories about some Brit soldiers in the First World War. It's just incredible.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, you're drawn. Well, because I can't live in the political world all the time, because otherwise I would be obsessed by everything that I read. There's a quote in one of the news this morning. I think it's in the Daily Post about Senator St. Augustine, and there was a weird kind of a dog whistle that went out, I guess Friday, in an email. Despite ongoing fiscal crisis, Senator Joe St. Augustine proposed referring the governor's bill back to committee today. The bill addresses millions in lost revenue and fully funding GMH. And then goes on to call to action, issue of furlough notices are imminent if nothing of substance is passed by the legislature in session, blah, 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 blah. Senator St. Augustine has been hired twice by this administration when he needed employment as a result of his loss in previous elections. He, of all people, should know the gravity of the situation, having worked at the Department of Rev and Tax, and the personal consequence of being unemployed, said Governor. The governor said this?
That was the release that was issued, along with about 9 or 10 others on Friday throughout the session, one after another, including the death memo to B.J. Cruz. It was.
What does this have to do with anything? That he was twice hired by the administration? What is that? It's time for us to call in a favor? You owe us because we hired you twice, gave you a cush job over at Rev and Tax?
Hardball politics.
I'm not. You do it. You just don't put it in writing. That's not one of the things that you stick in writing. That's one of the things you WhatsApp the guy and say, hey, you remember when you came to us and needed a hand? Well, look, your governor needs a hand now. You don't stick that in writing and say, having worked at the Department of Rev and Tax, you've been hired twice by this administration. I don't know. That's sneaky stuff here. 27 after the hour. There's a couple of other stories that we'll cover And feel free to add in your comments to the mix, 888-8255. Another story over the weekend, Japan Airlines doubling daily service between Guam and Narita. They currently only fly one flight, but they're going to be making it two. And my guess is that some of this has to do, there's still demand to come to Guam. And maybe there are issues with the other airlines and the scheduling that they have, the way that they have selected routes to come in, and it looks like Japan Airlines sees an opening, and they're going to be taking advantage of it. But still in all, it's just an additional flight a day coming into Guam. We still got to deal with the Delta shutdown and the number of reduced flights that United has coming out of Japan. And so I keep wondering, what is it that we have to, how do we address this better? Is there a fundamental problem with outbound Japanese tourism? Is there a problem with Guam as a destination? And for the most part, you know, if you're just down in Tumon, if you're just down there, that's all right.
Doesn't it have mostly to do with the demographics up in Japan, the elderly population?
Well, they did have kids. I don't know if the kids are saving as well as their parents did. I'm sure there's some of that. Not enough
to take vacations to Guam.
I'm sure there is some of that. I'm not going to disagree, but people still have jobs. There are still salarymen. There are still office ladies. There's still the silver market, and they can find their way onto the airplanes. Are they going somewhere else? Are they finding other places? I'll give you an example. You get into Okinawa. Okinawa is millions of tourists a year. You know, you look at the arrivals on Guam, and it's really not that much further to get to Guam. But Okinawa, similar food, similar language, similar attractions, all of that kind of thing. And so they seem to like going there. Also clean, which is the point that I wanted to get to today about if we know that we're in trouble. Maybe we need to spruce things up even more on top of the work that we've already. I'm delighted to see that there was a cleanup crew rolling around here, right? GTA going out cleaning up.
That's where I was yesterday morning.
You were doing that?
I went down, yeah.
Did you clean up or did you just take pictures?
No, I filled a bag.
Did you? It looks like there's more than enough trash down at Tengisin to fill several bags and trucks.
Not that much anymore.
Good for you.
They did. GTA and team did a great job yesterday.
And
morning.
good for GTA. There's work that needs to be done, and you don't have to go all the way into Tengisin to find this. Within a nothingth of a mile from the governor's office, right across from Pigo Cemetery, there is a park. I want to say it is named after the great chieftain Hurao. Mm-hmm. And the grass hasn't seen a lawnmower there in weeks. It may be months. It has been since there's been somebody go down there and zabao the tall grass.
Oh, you're looking at me. I guess you want me to head over there with the weed eater.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of looking at Kevin. But so now I got to do this like a tennis man. I look at Kevin for a while, and then I look at you for a while. Look at Kevin. But anyway, so I'm familiar with this place because it occurred to me as I was running by there one day, literally, that what a mess this is. You've got all of these people over on one side that I think they live there, is the thing. And then there's junk cars in there, and like I said, maybe that's why they don't want to go down there with the bush cutters and the machetes, because they're afraid what other junk they'll find in the boondocks. As I said, this is within a couple of 100 yards of the governor's office. I don't mean the building, the governor's office. I mean his actual office. He can see it from there.
Wow.
And so can everybody else. And I'm wondering how it is that they have not, nobody from the Antelope has kind of adopted this area and said, you know what, you're right, we'll go in and take care of that. But it's a mess. And it's another one of these things that I was looking at on Facebook, and you just go, how do we get rid of the junk car problem is coming back, guys. Junk cars, Felix Camacho and the mayors, they did an outstanding job with that a few years ago, and we are right back to where we started from, and we learned absolutely nothing from the first go-around, because there's still people that have cars that don't want them anymore, that will give it to somebody or whatever, and they will park it on the side of the road. And it seems to me that there needs to be a way, get to headlines in just, let me just finish this thought, but there needs to be a way that somebody, EPA, they got teeth, police department, whatever, goes over, gets the VIN number off the car, goes to Rev and Tax and say, who's the last owner of this car? And go to them and pinch them to pay for the towing and removal costs so that our tourists and our residents and our kids don't have to see that squalor that is over at a park that is named after one of the island's great chieftains. Just trying to make a point here. 7:32, here's some more news and headlines from Kevin Kerrigan in the Guam Daily Post.
Alpha and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 34 minutes past 7 a.m. Breaking news out of Chalan-Pago this morning. Guam Police Department conducting a death investigation after a body was found at a home on Santa Cruz Drive in Chalan-Pago. Police are not commenting at this time. Family members at the scene who did not wish to be identified said no crime had been committed. The Guam Daily Post has learned that police received a call about a shooting around 2:30 this morning. That call was unfounded, however, they said at the time, but police returned about 5:30 a.m. this morning when a body was found. Police caution tape erected around a single-story home in Chalan-Pago where officers are seen going around the house and speaking to nearby family members and neighbors. This story is developing. In other news from the Post this morning, at least 3 Department of Corrections officers intend to appeal whatever adverse action is imposed against them today in connection with the murder of a detainee at the Agana lockup in December. Guam Federation of Teachers Union President Robert Koss said the officers are being held accountable for the inmate's death, but the officers disagree with that finding. In all, 7 officers were issued notices of adverse action in connection with the death of Ernest Manson. They're accused of dereliction of duty. 3 are represented by the GFT. Management can choose to suspend, demote, or terminate the officers based on the findings of their investigation, but Koss says the 3 officers that he represents will ask management to reconsider any proposed action against them in response to their filings today. Property owners of land condemned for the Ordad dump have agreed to settle for $2.3 million. That's millions less than the $41 million at least one appraiser valued the property at. The case was filed in July 2015 over 43,000 square meters of land owned by Pan Micronesian Development and Columbus Development Corp. The stipulated judgment of $2.3 million would require the government to pay $1,039,000 within 30 days of the signing of the judgment. Pay that to the 2 corporations and the law firm of Berman, O'Connor, and Mann. The $850,000 balance would be a tax credit. The settlement is pending final approval by the court. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every 4-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind. Even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam. Member FDIC.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Yeah, looking to see if there's any change in the traffic patterns in the last 10 minutes or so since the last time I looked at the traffic gizmo. And it looks like there's a whole bunch of people up on Route 3 that said, oh my God, I got to get to work. And they all said it at the same time because it's starting to back up again over by Guam Regional Medical City. Once you get on the Marine Corps Drive, should be fairly smooth sailing right up until you get to about where, I don't know, just after Jack in the Box and on your way into Tamuning. But even there, it's still fairly smooth through that area right now. Not seeing the usual congestion. Up the hill from Tarza Water Park is beginning to slow down. Doesn't look like there's anything major. I'm not hearing about any accidents on the road, but if you see something that you think the other motorists need to know about, especially at 737-888-8255.
Your place for Lent is at KFC. At KFC, you can be so good every day with the largest variety of seafood on Guam. Choose from our popcorn shrimp, fish fillet breaded shrimp, seafood salad and twister, the wasabi fish deluxe, or try the all-new shrimp and crab calagoon and twisters. And of course, we can't forget your favorite KFC's one and only original recipe chicken. This season, there's only one place for all your Lent favorites. KFC, it's finger licking good.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Mangilao on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Mangilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
Let me just coffee up. I was watching the video feed the other day and noticed the number of times in an hour I might reach for my coffee canteen and wondering, is there anybody that would like to sponsor this? Right now, it looks like it's sponsored by the Guam Running Club. It says, I love GRC. That's what that stands for. But I was thinking, even if I don't get a sponsor on this side, the bottom, because when I drink it, you can see. That, my friends, is the beauty.
We can call it the Infusion Coffee Grab. Hey, that was me. That wasn't you.
Yeah. Just all right. Just want to make that very clear, because I'll take the gratuitous plug every once in a while, but it's bad coming from me. But if it's coming from you, I guess that's all right. 20 away from the top of the hour, and among some of the people that I like to have these conversations about the great what ifs, and we had one actually at of all places, Carl Gutierrez's fundraiser just a couple of weeks ago. Old buddy Bobby Shringy on the line. How you doing, Bobby?
Good morning, Ray. So far, so good. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. How's the insurance game? Any good?
Yeah, it's always exciting. There's never a dull moment in the insurance industry.
I believe that. I believe that is true. Any opportunities for growth around here? The reason I ask, I noticed every once in a while you'll see the idea that somebody is moving out. And I think there was an insurance company just last week, not one of the big guys, but it looks like they've closed up shop. And I don't like to see any businesses leave town. Why would somebody go away?
It could be a number of reasons. Primarily, well, I think I would assume that. It's either because business wasn't that great for that agency. It could have been poor financial management, maybe. I mean, I think that's been a common tone these days. But it could be a number of reasons. There is adequate business out here on Guam, fortunately.
Right.
And the insurance industry rather has sort of diversified to the point where I was talking to another player in the industry, a large player, not too long ago, and he brought up a really good point. That the insurance industry, specifically the property and casualty aspect, has sort of become an export for Guam in terms of this region, because a lot of the players here, they're out there in the CNMI, they're out there in the Republic of Palau, they're out there in the Marshall Islands, so it's become an export. So it's we're not just the focus has sort of moved from just being Guam versus the region, and I think that's really where where that growth opportunity exists. And then there's growth everywhere.
What surprises me is the number of guys in your game, and this isn't by why I called out for Bobby, but certainly an interesting side angle on the conversation is you're right. There seems to be a whole lot of guys in the PNC game, and a whole lot of guys in the property and casualty game that are going after the personal lines as well. I mean, there'd always been some money there, but you'd seen some of these guys almost boutique level at insurance companies that kind of eschewed that for a while, because there's additional expenses and a little bit more. There's more that you've got to add to the system when you're in that kind of game. But it seems to me a lot of guys are saying, you know what, I am going to go after the personal lines.
Yeah, and we're seeing a growth with brokers on island. So that's emerging. And so we're seeing there's definitely that. And of course, there's the general agency aspect. These are the little guys who would start up shop, basically get appointed by a couple of major players, major carriers, and then they're in business. And so it diversifies. And remember, it's really a service-oriented industry. I mean, primarily service-oriented. Yes. At the end of the day, I'm buying a product. I want to make sure that I'm taken care of when the need arises.
Well, I sure like the conversation. I'd have a lot of friends like you in the insurance game, and it's one of those things where I know just enough about insurance to be dangerous, but not enough to be a threat to anybody. Hey, among the reasons why I like to get guys like you in the conversation is you think kind of a thinker when it comes to business, and the thinker when it comes to the way that businesses can be affected by what happens over at the legislature. And I know that you have been watching the drama unfold at the legislature. Just for now, your thoughts on where they are based on the pause on Friday. I know you and Jimmy probably went out, talked to a bunch of people about it, and so I'm just kind of curious of what your sentiment is on that debacle here this morning.
Yeah, it's really hard to gauge. And Ray, watching the legislature for years, it doesn't matter which legislative body we're looking at. It's typically an unpredictable situation.
Well, the fact that B.J. Cruz is the greatest fiscal conservative that the legislature has ever seen.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive. I know there was a conversation. There's been a number of conversations on how what I'm seeing here. Of course, our lawmakers trying to balance the issue. It's not an easy decision. Yes. Do we have a fiscal situation on island that's going to be looming? Absolutely. It's pretty evident. But at what cost? Do you do it at the cost of saying, hey, listen, we're going to raise taxes, the GRT rather, and basically say, okay, people of Guam, you're going to have to buy into this. Mm-hmm. But in the same token, you have to ask yourself that question, is the government doing enough to reduce its expenditures? I was reading the Post while, I guess, prior to driving to work. And I noticed that article with the survey where they were talking, I guess the Post had some interviews with some individuals. And you sort of see
right down to the last one. I read the same article, and I'm nodding my head up and down saying not only no, but heck no.
Yeah, and those are the sentiments that you're hearing out there. I think there was a phase of this emotional spin which was created right during the time of that public hearing. And the question you have to ask yourself is are people seeing this logically, or are they being fed into this emotional spin? And by reading some of these comments and talking to people out there, I'm seeing that they're looking at this logically. It's no longer, what I don't want to see, what I personally don't want to see is this divisiveness between the government and the private sector. But we're seeing that discussion, and then that's unfair. It's unfair for everyone. But I think what needs to happen really is the government just has to look at other options. There were a number of social media posts about that this was the speaker's bill, option one, this was the governor's bill, is option two, and suddenly it was, well, we like option two better. Well, my answer or my question is, where's option three? I mean, there has to be an option three. If we're talking about legislation that is going to impact every single consumer on island.
And every single transaction.
Exactly. Every single transaction is going to be impacted. It's true, many businesses or most businesses will eventually pass that cost over to the consumer. That is just the nature of how business works. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a greedy thing. It's the logical thing. It happens, unfortunately. Yes, competition will minimize your impact in terms of how much you want to transfer off or pass on to the consumer. But at the end of the day, You have an operation to run. You don't want to be that entity that we were just discussing 5 minutes ago, 7 minutes ago, in regards to that one general agency closing down. These are realities. These things can't happen.
And
But,
so,
you know, there's a bigger picture to it, though, Ray.
well, the larger issue, and going back to your point, is there needs to be the conversation, and it needs to happen along with all of the other conversations. If there is going to be an increase in taxes, if there's going to be a change in the way we administer taxes in this town, and you know, I don't have a big dog in the fight here. So you know, for me, the conversation between what can be done with business privilege taxes versus what can be done with a more visible sales tax. Hey, you know what? Let's have the conversation, right? I don't have passion in either direction on it. So for me, it's largely an educational conversation, and I'd like to see more of that taking place.
Sure. And that's sort of the disappointing aspect of it, is because I remember about a year ago, sometime maybe last summer or so, we had several discussions with the GMH finance team, and we meaning the chamber. And by the way, these opinions of mine predominantly are those of the business community. They may not necessarily be just mine, but I know it's been labeled as being.
Well, you hold a position with the Chamber of Commerce, so you know obviously what's going through your head may be going through the heads of other members of the business community.
Absolutely, and so what it is we came up with a couple of ideas saying, hey, listen, this is when the GRT proposal was on the table to increase GRT from 4% to 4.75, which is approximately a 19% increase. And there were several options that were put on the table. You know, whether it be looking to sales tax, looking into an online sales tax, looking at the property taxes, and for every suggestion, it was more like can't do this, can't do that, not possible, not immediate. What we were hoping for was, let's look at that as an idea. Let's look at how we can materialize this into something, and let's have a conversation on this, and eventually put the pieces together so that maybe, just maybe, this may be a reality. That's what we were hoping to hear.
Yeah.
And now and I was talking to someone not too long ago and said, okay, well, a year ago the conversation was a 19% increase, right, on the of the DRT. Which
now it's 50.
Organization. Now it's 50. So had the 19% say passed last year, that would not have been the silver bullet that would have, or the golden egg rather, that would have solved GMH's finances, because now we're coming back at 50. As far as the Trump tax cuts, that was a discussion that's been ongoing for I think it started right around the time President Trump got elected, not sworn in, elected into office. Those discussions sort of began because it was a campaign platform issue that he had discussed back in 2016.
To the degree that we couldn't quantify it until we actually had the numbers coming out of Washington, D.C., sure. I get it. But as you point out, we knew they were coming. The conversation had been out there. If you go back to January of 2018, you've got no less than Joe Arnett. And I want you to go back. I want you to go back in the record, and Joe Arnett about nailed it. He was the first guy to start talking about $70 million. And it wasn't until after they'd looked at it and said 47, then found out it was going to be even deeper, that finally the numbers are meshing with what Joe said it was going to be almost the day that the announcement of the cuts were made. Joe is that good.
And Joe actually sat into those finance meetings, by the way.
Yes.
We had those meetings. So I have a lot of respect for Joe when it comes to numbers. That's what he does. That's what he's been very successful at for decades. So Joe means well, and this is
well. That's because Joe is always looking for the extra data. Joe Arnett is the guy that if he does a PowerPoint on Guam and the Mariana Islands, he always has it go all the way up to Mog, because nobody else's goes all the way up to Mog. So Joe always includes that last little detail. And for Joe's analysis, like I said, you go back to the first part of this year. Right? Mm-hmm. This is the guy that nailed the number, and nobody paid any attention.
Correct. And that number was sort of looming last year, even though there were no real facts at it. And I think maybe Joe probably said that number last year as well. But that number has been looming. But the reality here is, whether it was going to be 30 million or 70 million or 1 million, the discussions on cuts and reducing government expenditures should have sort of begun last year. And we knew that 19% was coming. Was being proposed as a solution for GMH. But at the end of the day, at the time, it really wouldn't have been the golden egg. because today we're back to square one, and now the proposal on the table is a 50% increase. And I understand it's not just for GMH anymore; it's really for an array of government expenditures.
It's coming through to where, as we said, it's going to affect everybody, and there's going to be I think some continuous hand wringing between here and there. I wanted to spend a few minutes that we've got on the air talking about this change out, if you will, to the visible sales tax. I mean, you and I follow the same guys in social media. Tom Shea bought a $30 bag of decaf coffee. Decaf. What's the point? What? Even if it's Kona, it's decaf. Doc, what's the point? So but on his receipt, it shows the visible sales tax here.
Right. It was like $1 or something.
Yeah, whatever it happened to be, 4% or something, whatever it is in Hawaii where he bought the coffee from. So the question that I have for you is, if it came down to it today, and we said, here's the way in the perfect world, if we have to go with the tax increase, we'll stay with the 4% BPT, but we will add a visible sales tax on top of it. And as we get ourselves excused from some of the BPT bonds that we've got, we'll just fold over to this sales tax and make that one go to 6 by and by, right? So
yeah. Well, what are the
Well, I know that's at least one of the conversations that's taking place, because you can't shift over from one to the other right now, I'm told. Okay, so having said that, what would need to take place? Is that something that the legislature has to do? Is it can the guys over at Rev and Tax just wave a wand over something and say, from now on we're calling this a sales tax?
Well, I'm guessing this has to be mandated by legislation, because the definition of the language of what the business privilege tax is identified in the Guam Code annotated. So that would definitely have to be amended.
Is there language out there? Has anybody? I'm sorry, Bobby. Has anybody written any of that language that we can start looking at? Because this is going to be the next big fight in the family, so we might as well start working our way through some of the language of the law.
I believe it's there because remember when it was called the gross receipt taxes, and then it became the business privilege taxes. The name change took place. In order for the name change to take place, it had to have been identified somewhere in the GCA in terms of being what it is. So I'm guessing it's there. And once again, I'm not an attorney. I don't want to say it is there, but I'm guessing that there's a definition there. And actually, that's a pretty good point. I'm going to look at that today.
Yeah, because we can talk about it, or as the business community has done before, go in with a voter initiative and present it here. This is what we want to present this to the legislative body. Look, we know you got a lot to deal with here with the governor and the sessions and all of these other things. Let's save them some time and take them what the business community would view as the appropriate language and the appropriate steps to take in the legislation. Because otherwise, we'll be doing this, and then 6 months from now, there's going to be a fight over it, like there was last time.
Exactly. The conversation isn't going to end. I mean, unfortunately, the discussion needs to take place. Needs to be consistent. I like the idea of the voter initiative. Unfortunately, several years ago, there were some changes to the law that makes the process a lot more challenging.
Of course, it does.
There are more signatures. Yada yada yada. What I wouldn't mind seeing is this be a legislative initiative, meaning just very similar to what former Senator Barnes did with the.
Here, you know what? Let's have the guys at let's have the guys at the what is it called? The junior legislature. What is that?
The Guam Youth Congress.
Yeah, we'll have the Guam Youth Con. They'll do the tough stuff. Yeah, because they don't have to worry about re-election and any of that stuff. I mean, these are the guys that come out with same-sex civil union and drinking and driving and all of the hard stuff. We'll let them take it, and then the legislature can just pass the concept over. I mean, what the heck? It will largely affect their livelihoods down the road, not necessarily all of ours. On the subject of on the business community, what would it take because I can think of what it would take for us and the work that we kind of do around here to be able to shift from BPT over to a sales tax. Do you suppose it would be easy for the number of retailers and folks in the service economy to be able to just say, okay, this is it. We're gonna exit out the BPT and replace that with the visible sales tax on our POS?
It's really going to take some transition. I mean, you have some entities that have the state-of-the-art equipment and are utilizing technology. I'm sure they're going to have an easy opportunity to sort of transition. The challenges just might be with the little guys, right? With the little mom pop stores, with the produce sellers, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think it's going to be a huge challenge. One of the things people are that are concerned about, well, will this impact the cost of the goods prior to the register, right? Because the sales tax now is a post-register tax.
Yeah.
So, my take on that is, do I think businesses are just going to roll back prices, saying, hey, listen, my BPT is about to be reduced by a certain number of points. Maybe I will reduce it. But chances are, off the top, they may not. But I think with competition and economic factors, eventually that we'll start seeing a reduction of that. But in terms of your question, the transition, well, it's gonna be a learning curve. I don't think it's gonna be overnight.
Just break open the manual. Look, everybody bought a cash register from Al over at TikTok. Open the manual and it'll tell you how to input the numbers for the sales tax.
And I bet there's a portion. I think there's a button on every cash register that actually says sales tax. Right? Yeah, it's a national concept. It's not new. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Every state, has a form of a sales tax.
How many of you guys in the business world get a POS system from someplace, and the guy says, "Okay, we'll set up your sales tax," and you say, "We don't have one," and they freak out for 10 minutes. What? You don't? What?
I'm pretty sure. It's not a challenging issue at all. It's just going to take. But I'm sure you're going to have organizations like the chamber. Who would reach out with educational forums and opportunities, and this is what it is, this is what it was, this is what it is, and of course DRT. I know there's going to be a manpower concern from their end. I understand. There are ways to alleviate that. But yeah, it shouldn't be. It's not a difficult transition.
Well, just take the people off the car registration and the driver's license lines and move them over to that. Oh, wait a second. What am I saying? Get out of here. It's one of the biggest choke points that we've got on Guam. Hey, Bobby, we got to get you in. I was going to say, you finish your thought here. We'll get you in the studio one of these days and finish the rest of this conversation because I don't think it's done. I think it's the next big deal that we've got to get through, regardless of what happens at the legislature. And your prediction of what's going to happen at the legislature today is
nothing. It's going to move on to tomorrow.
Really?
What I'm hearing is that the finance folks are going to be back at the legislature, which means, and that's going to be at 2:00, which means around 6:00 the discussions will continue, and there's going to be a recess until tomorrow.
All right. So at least another day of this. All right, interesting prediction. I'll hold you to it. I got to break away because it's already 8:00 in the morning. Have a good day over at the Moylan's Place. It's Bobby Springer. Here's the news.
An embattled Florida sheriff vows to stay on the job. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel defying calls to resign for the response to the Valentine's Day school shooting that left 17 people dead.
At this point, we have no reason to believe that anyone acted incorrectly or correctly. That's what an investigation is. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but nobody's entitled to their own set of facts.
Israel on CNN State of the Union denying reports of more than one officer staying out of the building when the shooting occurred. He says the school resource officer was the only one outside.
73 state Republican legislators here in Florida have signed a letter to the governor asking for the governor to suspend the Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel. Over the past couple of days, there's been lots of demands and calls for Israel to be fired by the governor or for him to resign, but this is now perhaps the biggest official push against the Broward County Sheriff to step aside.
Fox's Matt Finn at Stoneman Douglas High School. Students and parents returning to campus today for the first time since the shooting for an orientation. The White House scoffing at the Democratic memo refuting claims from a GOP memo of FBI misconduct during the Russia investigation. House Intelligence Committee ranking member Adam Schiff fought for the memo's release.
Congressman Schiff says the Democrats' memo makes it clear that the FBI, quote, acted appropriately and did not mislead the secret FISA court. President Trump disagrees, says the Democratic memo doesn't clear up any of the lingering questions related to those FISA court brought up by the Republicans' memo. And President Trump goes on to say it doesn't show any evidence of collusion with Russia during the 2016 elections.
Fox's Molly Henneberg in Washington. Violent storms and tornadoes in the central U.S. blamed for at least 5 deaths. The National Weather Service saying twisters touched down in Tennessee and Kentucky, destroying 4 homes and damaging dozens. Moderate flooding is expected along the Ohio River in Kentucky and Ohio. Fox News, fair and balanced.
We first opened about 10 years ago. We were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans. But in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
How secure is the security clearance for President Trump's son-in-law?
The president's son-in-law and senior White House advisor has been working on an interim security clearance since joining the White House in January of 2017. And the president was asked at a news conference whether he will give a waiver to Jared Kushner on his security clearance.
So that'll be up to General Kelly. General Kelly respects Jared a lot, and General Kelly will make that call. I won't make that call. I will let the general, who's right here, make that call.
White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders said that regardless of changes to the security clearance process, Kushner's duties would not change. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Violence continuing in Syria despite a demand for an immediate end to hostilities. At least 6 people killed today.
The violence, which has killed more than 500 people in the rebel-held neighborhood of East Ghouta, has decreased significantly in the last 24 hours. But this weekend, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution demanding a 30-day total ceasefire by all sides. That resolution is being ignored by both pro-government forces and the rebels.
Fox's Connor Powell in the Middle East Bureau. Gas prices dropping 6 cents in the last 2 weeks. The Lundberg survey finds the national average for a gallon of regular is $2.59.
Right now, the high in our panel of cities in the lower 48 states, San Francisco is the high average, $3.38. And the low is Jackson, Mississippi at $2.23.
Industry analyst Trilby Lundberg of the Lundberg survey saying the cost of gas will likely go up soon, in part because of rising crude oil prices. The Reverend Billy Graham's body is in his library for public viewings tomorrow and Tuesday. Graham will lie in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda on Wednesday and Thursday, followed by a private funeral at the end of the week. The evangelical icon died last Wednesday. He was 99 years old. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News Radio.
In celebration of 42 years with you, the AB One Pat International Airport Authority is giving one lucky winner a $1,500 travel voucher to fly anywhere United Airlines flies. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram to enter. Do both and check out the details to increase your chance of winning. It's our way of saying thanks for trust and support in your airport. So what are you waiting for? Like, follow, and fly today. Guam International Airport, celebrating 42 with you.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manila on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manila. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA. Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 8 a.m. this Monday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. The Guam Police Department conducting a death investigation at this hour after a body was found this morning at a home on Santa Cruz Drive in Chalampago. Police are not commenting at this time, and family members at the scene who did not wish to be identified told the Guam Daily Post that no crime had been committed. The Post has learned, however, that police received a call about a shooting around 2:30 this morning, but the call was unfounded. Later, police returned about 5:30 this morning when a body was found. Police caution tape has been erected around a single-story home in Chalampago, where officers can be seen going around the house and speaking to nearby family members and neighbors. Guam Police spokesman Sergeant Paul Tapau says detectives from GPD's Criminal Investigation Division are now on the scene conducting their investigation. Guam lawmakers go back into session at 2 this afternoon to resume deliberations over Governor Calvo's proposal for a temporary increase in the business privilege tax. The tax increase proposed by the governor calls for boosting the BPT by 50% for 2 years, from 4% now to 6%, then leaving 0.75% in place after those 2 years to serve as a dedicated funding source for Guam Memorial Hospital. Yesterday, the governor issued a warning to senators against watering down his tax proposal, that following his call on Friday for lawmakers to resign if they failed to act on resolving the current fiscal crisis, which the administration warns threatens payless paydays in March and the loss of critical public services. In one of the governor's news releases Friday, he called out Democrat Senator Joe San Augustine, saying San Augustine has been hired twice by this administration when he needed employment as a result of his loss in previous elections. Of all people, said the governor in his release, San Augustine should know the gravity of the situation. In response, San Augustine has issued his own release, saying, I was qualified for the position. I was hired to do what I did at the Department of Rev and Tax. I exercised my reemployment rights. I was not a political appointee, and I am shocked, he said, to see the governor would stoop so low to demand my vote as payment for some perceived personal favor. We'll have more news after this.
Your place for Lent is at KFC. At KFC, you can be so good every day with the largest variety of seafood on Guam. Choose from our popcorn shrimp, fish fillet breaded shrimp, seafood salad and twister, the wasabi fish deluxe, or try the all-new shrimp and crab caliwin and twisters. And of course, we can't forget your favorite KFC's one and only original recipe chicken. This season, there's only one place for all your Lent favorites. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muña on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
It is 11 minutes past 8 a.m. here at The Point. The top criminal priority for the FBI on Guam and in the CNMI is public corruption, according to Joseph Strantz, the supervisory senior resident agent for the FBI in the Marianas. Strantz spoke to the Rotary Club of Guam last week. He declined to discuss any specific cases now under investigation, but he acknowledged that the number of agents on Guam and in the CNMI has recently increased, although he declined to say just how many agents are now in the region. He said they are fully staffed now. Rotary members last week asked about an explosive article from the Bloomberg News Service earlier this month, which suggested the possibility of money laundering at the resort, given the more than $2 billion in bets that the casino is reportedly handling on a monthly basis. Strantz declined to say whether that was something the FBI was looking into. The Department of Public Health and Social Services is currently in the process of procuring an interim vendor by April to provide adult daycare, case management, and in-home services to over 2,000 senior citizens. Catholic Social Services has been providing those services to island seniors, but recently announced they would not be renewing their contract with GovGuam when it expires because of non-payment and late payment issues. In 2017, last year alone, the services to seniors cost GovGuam $3.5 million. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Some weather with Ray.
Partly cloudy skies today. Isolated showers in the forecast. Easterly winds to about 20 miles an hour. Daytime highs 89 degrees. There's partly cloudy and isolated showers in the forecast tonight. More easterly winds and overnight lows 76. Last time I looked out the window, it was raining a little bit. Is it raining when you went outside?
Not now. Now it's nice, clear blue skies.
All right, give you a taste of weather and here, and in a couple of minutes we'll look at the traffic maps, let you know what that's like. Blake Watson, sports coming up.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth, from vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. Portions of the program brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open, always local. As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions. Lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network, we humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you. Subway's got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouthwatering greatness of the seafood sensation. Or the tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty. No artificial colors, no artificial flavors. It's all goodness. Visit any of their convenient Subway locations today. At Subway, fresh is what they do.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
The Ray Gibson Show. News to fill your mind. Talk to get it out.
Sometimes that's what it feels like. There's just so much in front of me. If you do me a favor, let's take care of the traffic before we get into the headline sports with Blake Watson, because there are a lot of spots, and I know, Blake, you were just looking at your gizmo on the other side, your right now traffic gizmo. So we've got it. Route Marine Corps Drive down to St. John's as usual. I've got some slowing down there. Waisangsong to Marine Corps Drive. Weddingale over by the rugby fields. Traffic beginning to build through there. Don't know why, but it is. If you're turning left onto Route 3 from Marine Corps Drive, you are going to experience a slowdown. Route 16 over by Malakuti's office, and on that side of the street, things are beginning to build up. The over-underpass, if you're headed towards Barragata Heights or Reventax, you'll see some delays over there. And then over by Home Depot, if you're coming into town over at from Airport Access Road, Route 10 Alpha onto Marine Corps Drive, that one little spit of road until you get to Home Depot, you might actually see some slowing down. Route 8, Route 810 10 and 16. Also not pretty, and I'll make the pitch again as I'm looking at traffic buildup from 8, 10, and 16 southbound into Agana, and then it just opens wide up. It's that entrance to Tiedzen. That's that one intersection that screws up everybody's life, and you've got to get there at exactly the right time. Otherwise, you're stuck. And so we're seeing people get stuck in both directions from there this morning. So that's what the traffic is looking like. Now, it's time for sports. I didn't spit when I did that, did I?
No.
No, it's not. It worries me sometimes. You get those plosives out there, and it's just that all of a sudden everybody's got stuff on their glasses. Blake Watson now with...
I have a 19-month-old at home, so I'm used to being spit on. Or I wouldn't have noticed probably even if you did.
What's the big deal in sports? What kept you occupied all weekend long? Don't tell me it was the curling.
I missed it. I was going to say before off air, but I'll just say it on air for everybody to hear, is that, because you asked me, I said, how about that gold medal in curling? And you said, ask me if I watched it. And I was going to say, no, but I did try. I mean, anytime I see the Olympics on my guide, my digital TV guide,
Sure.
I just turn it on. So whatever's on, that's what I'm watching.
Okay.
I watched the biathlon, though, which is one of the craziest things. I watched it was a big Sweden, I think, upset the field. They beat Norway. If you don't know what the biathlon is, it's the really crazy one where they
have guns.
They got a cross-country ski. Then they got to stop, slow their heart rate down, and try to hit a tiny little bullseye with a gun strapped to their back, and then they go to the next stop, and it was really crazy to watch because that's like what they have guns, but it's an Olympic sport.
I just wonder how something like that became once upon a time an Olympic sport. I just go, what's the basis of that in real? And I guess there's a real world application. I mean, if you're out hunting in the woods in the wintertime.
Right, yeah, and if you're just like one of those life below zero people, I guess, you choose not to use modern technology with GPS and,
See, now I know what you've been binging.
I have been, yeah. It's a slow time. It's February. There's not a lot of sports on except for the Olympics.
Mason was watching, it's a fishing show about some guy south of the border goes into all these places and looking for monsters.
River monsters.
River
monsters.
That show,
yeah,
right?
That's a good one. They find fish with like human teeth that actually bite people's fingers off and stuff.
And they found the guy that made him. He was out in the Everglades, and they made the guy catch a alligator and catch a boa constrictor before he was allowed to go and go find whatever it was that he wanted.
Wow. Crazy.
So there's that show. Hey, tell me about the Warriors in Taichung.
I was going to say double, yeah. So in Taichung, that was the boys. They let's see here. The boys, they had a good showing. As the girls, by the way, were over in Thailand. We'll get to them. But the boys defeated Grace Academy 62-41 for their first ACSC, which I'm looking for what that is an acronym for. But ACSC tournament in Thailand. They won the championship. The tournament began back in 2013, Ray. And after 4 years of participating in the tournament against the best teams in the region, the Warrior boys finally got their championship. So they've been competing in this and finally found themselves on top after 4 years.
The big deal, it's an international championship.
It is.
Those are fun.
Yeah, very much so. And what's crazy is the top two players, Jamar White, shout out to him, and Jason Diaz, they led the team in 20 and 18 points respectively. So they came to play.
Earlier this morning, an interview with Mark Colby, and I know that you follow him on social media, so you know among the bigger problems that he is going to express are problems with the field after FestPac and concerts that have taken place down there. And the deplorable conditions of the actual stadium itself. I mean, there's spalling concrete. We've got exposed rebar, and that cannot be good. So I guess the deal is that we're not going to have a GML.
And the thing is that it's when they start gearing up for GML, and I know that I don't read up enough on this. Maybe you have a quick answer for me, but it just seems like when you see, the looming season coming, why not put into place what you need to, get out there and get at least the bare minimum repairs you can have.
But if there's no money,
yeah, that's where it is, and that's really what the issue is, but. That's sad, because ruined a good venue, for what it was actually, not ruined it, I guess you can still have a concert out there if you wanted to, but ruined it for the purpose of it, which is, to play baseball.
Right.
And, it's just upsetting, and I know the GML is pretty upset, the fact that, they kind of feel.
You cannot play.
And they feel, they feel like they had to take a back seat to their own venue, which I guess kind of, FestPac's more important, or, maybe Boys to Men Coming's more important,
Wow.
but the baseball season itself, I don't know, what
you
is this,
guys
the
can
baseball
wait.
field, guys?
Yeah, you guys
Jeez.
you can play anywhere you want to.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can't because
No.
you have to have a level, we talk about a level playing field. There's a reason for that. It's a conversation. You can't have an area that has depressions in it because you've got athletes, people at a certain skill level that are running full tilt. And they have to know when they put their foot down that it's going to be at about the same level as where their last footfall was.
Yeah, and it's not
among
like
other things.
right? And it's not like, I mean, sad to say, it's not like Paseo was in tip-top shape before any of this started. So, I mean, it's just to get it to, I'm just saying,
Why
just
you say such hateful
I
things?
just mean, because covering sports, I knew that there was some dissension in just, in the conditions of the field even before FestPac got here, with the shattered plastic seats, and some of the exposed rebar and things.
My understanding is they replaced the seats, which is good, but nobody looked up and made sure that there wasn't going to be any concrete blocks falling from the sky. And there are, I'm not exaggerating. There are pictures of spalled concrete that has fallen to the ground. And,
I've seen those
apparently
pictures.
just laying there. And so we can't obviously have human beings in that place to watch the games.
Right.
And so the question lies with what are they going to do? Will they be able to do anything given the current constraints on every dollar in the government of Guam? What is the likelihood that they're going to be able to do anything productive with that any time in the next fiscal year?
You can't, especially being an election year, you know what I mean? So maybe somebody should run on that. I'll fix Paseo. Vote for me.
Yeah, right. You got anything else? Anything big?
No, I'm good. There's just a high school IIAG wrapping up boys basketball season, so playoffs coming up.
All right, gotcha. I'll talk to you soon. Blake Watson, you can hear him in just seconds as he walks out the door. Here goes across the hall, literally to his radio station. That is Star 101. We're happy to have his participation in the morning. 8:22. I see you on the phone. Get to you in a minute.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
I scratched my head on that story, too. I thought maybe I'd ask Kevin a couple of questions about it. Got Missy on the line with a couple of questions about a story she heard about fewer Catholics or less Catholic activity happening here on Guam. Good morning, Missy.
Hi, Ray. Morning.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Do you have any more information about that? I just heard it, I think, in the early morning newscast, and then I didn't hear any more about it.
Well, here's the guy from the Daily Post.
We'll be happy to give you some information. If you want to give Mike your phone number, we can email you the results.
What specifically did you want to know, Missy?
Did I hear that the number of Catholics on island is down 50%? Like we're down to 50%?
That's what they reported. Mm-hmm.
So is that in the Post? Because I looked through the Post today, and maybe I just overlooked it.
No, it's not in today's paper, but we hold back stories sometimes, which appear in later times. So, and we save some things for the radio. But if you can give Mike your email, I'd be happy to get you some more information.
But the gist of it is when we total up, I guess somebody catalogs or keeps some kind of notebook activity on this. There are not as many Catholic weddings that are taking place, or baptismals that are taking place, funerals, etc., that are occurring largely, I suppose, in Catholic churches and in a Catholic archdiocese. Missy, does that go along with what you think you're feeling on the ground?
Yeah, I can recognize that there are lower numbers of baptisms and weddings happening in the church, but I'm just so surprised to hear if our numbers all the way down to 50% or below island-wide for a number of people who are Catholic.
I consider myself a Catholic. I was raised in the Roman Catholic faith, but I am not a practicing Catholic. And without putting too much of a fine point on it, I think there's just been too many changes that were taking place, and I didn't really recognize the masses as I was attending them. And so that kind of puts a pause for me to wanting to return all the time. And then the other part of it is being raised a cradle Catholic, you get a lot of this in your life, and at some point you say, I think I've been to enough, Yeah. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe I don't think it's just me, but I think there are others. And I try not to be one of those Catholics that looks at it like a buffet. Like you can take the parts that you like and leave the parts that you don't like and make your own little Ray hybrid Catholicism, because that's not the way it works. There's a book. There's a catechism behind all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for some people on some topics in particular, it was difficult for them to stay faithful to the catechism. And so better to just not go to church and get that guilty feeling, right?
So those people then are identifying themselves now as not Catholic at all? Like you said, you're Catholic but not practicing. I wonder if those who are Catholic and not practicing are just identifying themselves as not Catholic at all now.
Couldn't tell you. And maybe that's it. Maybe they just found something else. We live in a kind of a post-age of Aquarius time where, there's a lot of people that have experimented with different ways to be spiritual. And maybe there are maybe a growing number that say, you know what, I think I found the one I want, and it doesn't have the same name as the one I grew up with.
Yeah, and Kevin said that people are working on addressing the low number of Catholics now. So I just want to know, what's being done, and is this coming out of the archdiocese, that they're going to try to do something maybe for formation or outreach, or I want to see what are they trying to do about it.
Yeah, I'm just looking up the story now. We haven't published it yet, but it's been written. I can't promise you it'll be in the paper tomorrow, but let's see, the full survey can be read. We're talking about it on the radio
today. Maybe it should.
Yeah, we're going to publish the full survey. Several recent presentations. Archbishop Michael Burns has advised that Catholic baptisms, Catholic weddings, Catholic school enrollment, and even church attendance is down, while Guam's population has increased. In spite of local belief, we're probably less than 50% Catholic, and it's time for us, the folks in the pew, to present our thoughts and have some input in our future. That's from the Archbishop. They're preparing a white paper to collect the thoughts and hopes from all who claim to be Catholic faithful on Guam, and we need your input. So this is being led by the Archdiocese, and that was the Archbishop commenting on that.
I see.
And it'll be in the paper later this week. I cannot promise you what day.
Okay, great. Thanks. I just wanted more info on that. Thanks
Sure.
so much.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Welcome back to the air.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's kind of the deal here. There's some serious topics, but I don't think so serious that we can't have a little bit of a Cassie time with them, especially with some of the ridiculousness that is flying around. But issues of faith and the numbers in this community are also pretty important. So I appreciate you calling in.
Okay, thanks, Ray.
All right. It's 8:30 in the morning on The Point. The program is called The Ray Gibson Show. Even though I'm not the sole voice here, Mike Knight presses the buttons, answers the phone when you call at 888-8255, and Kevin Kerrigan delivers the news. Here's his last headline cast from the Daily Post.
Hafa and good morning, Guam. In the headlines from the Daily Post this morning, detectives from the Guam Police Department Criminal Investigation Division are at a home in Chalampago where a body was found this morning on Santa Cruz Drive. Guam Daily Post has learned that police received a report about a shooting in the area about 2:30 this morning, but they found nothing. They were called back at 5:30 a.m. when the body was discovered. Police have placed caution tape around the home where the body was found. Officers can be seen combing for clues, interviewing witnesses in the area. Family members at the scene who did not wish to be identified told the Guam Daily Post that no crime had been committed. The Post has learned that police got that report. They're investigating, and Criminal Investigations Division is on the scene conducting that investigation, according to the Guam Police Department. The top criminal priority for the FBI on Guam and in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands is public corruption, according to Joseph Strantz, the supervisory senior resident agent for the FBI in the region. Strantz spoke to the Rotary Club of Guam last week. He declined to discuss specific cases now under investigation, but he acknowledged that the number of agents on Guam and in the CNMI has increased recently. Although he declined to say just how many agents are in the region, he did say they are now fully staffed. Rotary members asked about an explosive article from the Bloomberg News Service earlier this month, which suggested the possibility of money laundering at the Imperial Pacific Casino in Saipan, given the more than $2 billion in reported bets that the casino is handling on a monthly basis. Strantz declined to say whether that was something the FBI was looking into. Property owners of land condemned for the Ordod dump have agreed to settle for $2.3 million. That is millions less than the $41 million at least one appraiser has valued the property at. The case was filed back in July 2015. Over 43,000 square meters of land owned by Pan Micronesian Development Corp. And Columbus Development Corp. The judgment of $2.3 million would require the government to pay $1,039,000 within 30 days of the signing of the judgment to the two corporations and the law firm of Berman, O'Connor and Mann. The $850,000 balance would be a tax credit. A settlement is pending final approval by the Superior Court. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's. More life happens here.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Is it traffic this morning? Yeah, well, you know, a little bit of wetness on the road a little bit earlier, and maybe just everybody having kind of a late start into their Monday. Hey, I'm with you. I am absolutely with you. I told you earlier the story. I get all the way to the office and realize that I left my office keys, which are detachable from the car keys, which I do all the time because, you know, run and keep the car keys with me, but not the office keys. Anyway, I don't go all the way back home to fetch it. And keys to the office and cell phone and children. That's the only 3 things I'd run back to the house for. 8, 10, and 16, still kind of a mess. Slowing down in traffic in all of the usual spots as we make our way into the office on Monday mornings. Doesn't look like there's any place that's really slowing down bad, except a portion of roadway in Agana from about the Bank of Guam up to the McDonald's. That section of Route 4 looks like it could be going a little bit faster this morning, except there's a lot of cars in the way. That's traffic this morning right here on The Point.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Now you can count on us to stay well, Papa to live well, Papa to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, we'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
Special things only come around once a year, and it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses the gold standard for fried fish, wild-caught Northern Pacific cod, breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp. Add a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crisp pickles, and you've got the fish sandwich many say is the best of the bunch. Get yours today at Wendy's, located in Tamoning, Veragata, Agana, Dededo, and Naval Base. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better.
The generic breaker music for the program here. We use generic, non-copyrighted songs so that our videos don't get kicked off Facebook. Hey, it's really important that we keep that Facebook connection going because for a lot of people, that's how you are interacting with the program. It's nice to be able to hear it wherever you are on the actual FM radio, but it's also pretty cool to see it. You can do that at facebook.com. Just search for The Points site and our page there, and it should be one of the first things that pops up. And then there's another way that you can watch the program. Go to thepoint.gu, which is our website, and you can go there and you can interact and you can see all about me and all about some of the other programs that we feature here on the Point radio stations. 8:36 in the morning. Last week had Archbishop Burns on the radio along with, let me see, it was Diana Siguenza. Is it Paula? Paula Siguenza now, from Catholic Social Services. And it was a strange kind of interview. And if you heard it, maybe you could hear me reaching around trying to find what the next step was going to be, not necessarily for Catholic Social Services. I mean, they got their stuff lined up. They have all of the clients that they need and the people to do the work that will keep them busy, but there's a number of things that they just decided that they're not going to be in the business of, and part of that has to do with a relationship they have had for about 30 years with the Department of Public Health and Social Services. So at-home care and the intake programs and things like that will revert back to the Department of Public Health and Social Services. I was delighted to hear that looks like public health has been able to find a suitable replacement, if you will, for the work that Catholic Social Services has done. So if I'm holding my fingers right and cross my fingers right, there should not be so much pressure on the families of the clients. So with me on the line, Acting Director Leo Casil. Good morning, Leo.
Hi, Ray. Good morning.
Nice to talk to you. It's been a little bit since we've talked on the radio, but it was nice to see you over at, what was that social that we were at? The Mardi Gras.
I think it was.
Yeah, the Women's Club and their Mardi Gras event. Absolutely nice to sit down and talk to you about a number of things, including the toilet paper and the napkins that you guys got. Are you going to continue that tradition as acting, or are you going to let the next guy decide?
Well, which one? The tradition for the...
Yeah, for the napkins and the toilet paper.
Well, that's up to GSA. They're the ones that do the procuring for those, so,
You just have to pay for it.
Speak for them, yeah.
Anyway, at the time, I did not know that there was going to be a change in the relationship between the Catholic Social Services and public health, and that has been the subject of a couple of headlines and at least one interview on this radio station. But the question has always been, what's next? And not necessarily what's next for CSS. As I said, they got their 5-year plan all laid out in front of them, but it does cause some issues for public health now because those are your wards.
That's correct.
So what did you guys decide you were going to do next?
Well, Ray, this program, is funded from the federal program and also the local. And, we've had this for years. And, of course, this is for the Monumcos, right, our Monumcos. So it does give the opportunity for the government, to provide these services. So, we do have that on the table here and on our budget for so many years. That, yes, we're going to have to continue because, we have to take care of Monumcos that are in need and all that. So.
Well, I was going back with the party that was in the studio and reminded of something. I think it was Governor Guerrero that said many years ago that this is one of the ways that municipal communities can get into trouble with programs that are originally 100% funded by the federal government, which eventually turn into situations like this one where there's a significant funding pressure on the local government. And, of course, after all of this time has gone by, the program is very, very mature and has got a number of people that are already in line with it who would be very put out if the program went away. So it really not too much wiggle room for you guys over at Public Health to be able to say, well, we're not getting the same number of dollars as we did from the federal government in the beginning, so we're just going to eliminate the program.
No, on the contrary, the federal government is only giving like 80. I think their portion is at least 25% or something like that. So what's happened in the past is that the local government, the legislature has always funded, has overmatched that. because of the the demand and I should say the need for Monumco. So it's overmatched. We're giving more than what the federal government is.
So why is CSS walking away from it? If the funds are there, why would they have issues with payless paydays for some of their employees and having to dig into other resources to be able to provide for their clients?
Oh well, I can't speak for the payless pay part, but when I used to work there, the situation was the payments were just not available on time, like on paydays, and even before paydays, they would need payments from their invoices. Mm-hmm. So it just late, but that's what I can say for that. It's just just somehow it gets late, but it gets paid eventually.
Yeah, eventually. But if you're a business counting on payments on a regular and timely basis to be able to support work that you are doing on behalf of the government, you would think that they would get paid about the same time the employees of public health would get paid.
I agree with you, Ray. But apparently sometimes it's there's glitches on the payment portion. So but I know for the last 30 years they've endured it, and I guess I can't speak for CSS, but I guess after a while they're just probably saying, well, it's difficult to maintain that.
So for clarity, let me just make sure that I get this. So for clarity here, the issue has nothing to do with a lack of funds from the government of Guam. The money is there. It's been overmatched. It's just that for whatever reasons, and I remember issues where there would always be this circular, that we did this with daycare a few years ago, if you recall, where there was federal block grant monies that were available for daycares, but because of the invoice and payment and regulatory checks and balances cycle, there was no way that anybody was able to get anything between 60 and 90 days on a regular basis. So would you say it was the same thing here with?
Ray, I would. It's just the process involved. We're okay that a glitch happens in the process, and unfortunately, that's what happens. But like they said, when they were there 4 times out of the year, one time it happened. But I just kind of it's in the process involved and the delays, but I still think because it gets paid anyway.
Yeah.
And and we really
well, if you can hold your breath.
Apologize for that.
Yeah, if you can hold your breath long enough. So who are you talking to now to pick up the slack when CSS turns the keys to the program back into public health and social services?
Well, if you will, I don't like to divulge it right now because we want to finalize it first. But we are talking, and there is a definite answer on it, and I just don't want to divulge that right now, if I may, because it hasn't been finalized yet. But
is it somebody I know? Is it an outfit that's already doing business with public health?
Ray, yeah.
Well, it's my job. I got to find out. These are public funds that we would eventually be spending. So it's definitely in the public interest to find out who they are.
I agree, but since we haven't come up yet with a with a final whatever, it hasn't been really finalized yet. I just don't want to keep saying yes.
Is there a procurement? Leo, is there a procurement question that needs to be applied over this, even under the emergent situation or the urgent situation, where CSS says we're going to be out by the end of March, and we got to have at least some new temporary players in April?
It won't be a complete procurement type of situation in what we're working with, and that's all I can say for now. Please, if you don't mind, it won't take us long, but I can assure you that our procurement will be out shortly. In fact, if you look at the post, we already posted
Sure. No, but going from this one from CSS into this other organization, there's no procurement required for these new guys to take it up, even for the short time.
It's how should I say? There's a slight procurement not from GSA, but some just approved type of I should say authorized type of services to be provided.
Yeah, I just don't want to at the end of all of this have somebody come through and say that because these guys were in and there was no real procurement done, then they're not necessarily an incumbent. Will they be able to participate with and participate in another procurement down the road based on simple authorization as opposed to a pure procurement arrangement between public health and this new organization?
Yes, not in this case. Not for our interim provider that we have that we're going to have, hopefully.
Okay, and so they would be able to be treated fairly along with other participants or other procurement responses in the fall.
Yes, sir. It's not like the regular procurement, so I can say.
Okay, no, that was very interesting. How much money will be spent on the interim, and how much is this contract worth on an annual basis?
Okay, on the interim, let me see if I recall it was the extension because the end of fiscal year ended in October.
Yeah.
So we had until March, and up to that time, we let me see how we spent, but we would have a contract value available from April to September, at least 1.8 million left out of the 3.5.
And that's going to take them over the interim, and then for the new procurement through the end of the fiscal year.
Up to September, that's correct.
Okay, and you've got the money for it.
Yes, we do.
That's the question I keep coming back to is if you are going to apply for this gig, then just recognize that there may be some issues from time to time that prevent what would normally anywhere else be referred to as timely. So expect 30 days plus, 60 days plus, maybe 90 days plus.
Yes, at least according to our contract, at least 30, 60 days. That's our normal for these programs.
Okay, is there a transition period? Will CSS be working with this new group so that there's no jarring experience for any employees that might be transferred over to the new group, or a jarring experience for the clients themselves?
Yes, we will be. Our staff will be working with CSS, to make sure that the staff there, will have a smooth transition, and most of that work will be done, by our staff from DSC, and of course in collaboration with CSS, and we will work out the details on that as it comes along, and our main goal is after March 31st, then we will continue on April 1st. So we're very hopeful that it will continue.
Are you taking any new clients now because we're in this transition period?
I can't say that, but I think what's happening here is because we do have limited spaces, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that in the case management there is a listing. So whenever a vacancy occurs, it can only accommodate so many people. So that would be considered new if the current patients should, how should I say the word, not be there anymore.
Yes.
Not in the service. Then
people pass away. I mean, this is a program for the aged, and as will happen, people will join the program, and by and by they'll pass away, and that creates an opportunity for somebody else to come back into the program.
Yes, we will just replace it as fast as we can. It becomes available.
I got you.
Okay.
And one other question. So your environmental guys, they're out there doing their inspections on apparently a very healthy basis these days. I got to assume that you and Tom Nadeau are really happy about the number of I suppose businesses that you go into that have been reading the news and listening to the radio and saying, if I don't keep my food chilled right or heated right, I'm going to get pinched by Leo and Tom.
Yeah, well, Ray, thanks to the people out there that are that are complaining, but as we've always said here, we can't go out there and cover as many as we can, but once we receive a complaint, I can assure you that our people will check right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, hopefully the message goes out, and they hear that, yes, like you said, we have to have all these certain temperatures and sanitation stuff. So that's one of the best ways for us to respond.
I saw something on Facebook where somebody, it wasn't local, but somebody had been inspected and they got a B rating. So they were out in the window where it has to have the sign. They put some other letters underneath it. So it was the B rating was mixed in with BBQ. So it looked like that was what we're selling is BBQ.
I wonder what that stood for.
Yeah, well, they got a B rating, so barbecue. Yeah, so where's it? All of a sudden, or you get a D rating. You use that as the first letter in the sign that says deli. So delicious food here.
Well, we will do what we can with what we have, and I hope the people out there appreciate what we do.
Certainly, I think there are a number of people, Leo, that really don't have a problem with it. I think it's a source of consternation for some guys because at a certain temperature, based on your equipment, based on the heat and the humidity in the place, sometimes it is a little bit difficult to maintain those low temps. And I'm sure you hear that all the time. But it's the health is the health, right?
That's correct.
All right, Leo, it's always good talking with you. I'll see you pretty soon.
Okay, Ray.
And as soon, because you guys don't have a public information officer there, which is why
not permanently, but
which is why I'm bugging you here. But as soon as you can, you are authorized to clear the name of the outfit that's going to be working with CSS. I think that'd be real helpful, certainly for some of the people that are listening that have moms and dads and aunts and uncles in the program.
Definitely, Ray.
All right, looking forward to hearing from you again, Leo.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Acting Director over at the Department of Public Health and Social Services, Leo Casil, here with us on the program. And that is an end of the day conversation there. Things are happening with Catholic Social Services and their own side, but the work that they were doing on behalf of public health, it looks like we've finally gotten our head around somebody that can keep the lights on in the program on the interim until there is new procurement. And I hope, as the man says, that should not be a problem. That is getting the additional procurement into the system and having somebody on the interim. I don't know how it works, but every time somebody starts talking about procurement in the government of Guam, I get that squidgy feeling. Like,
oh, yeah, your eyes start to glaze over.
Something bad is going to happen. There's something bad. Because I survived. We're not done with procurement over at Simon Sanchez, and I have survived barely the procurement over at John F. Kennedy High School. And you can't tell because you're new. You're a new guy here. So as far as you're concerned, it's always looked like that.
Yeah, as soon as I got here, I drove past JFK and was like, wow, look at that great high school.
What a place. We should put a Walmart there or something. What a great spot for a Walmart. Actually,
right across the street from the Kmart.
So I have a... I probably shouldn't say anything because the nature of competition now is such that if I say that I've got somebody coming in later on to talk about something, it's probably going to get sniped. So I'm not going to say. But on that subject, I have found an expert, and we'll be spending some time on the radio with his expert down the road. Okay, so getting back to the political drama that is the conversation about the governor's measure at the legislature that would increase taxes from 4% to 6% on the gross receipts tax. Some of those dollars would go to education. Some of those dollars would go to Guam Memorial Hospital. And some of it would go to maintain the fat, bloated conditions of the government of Guam, which is what many editorialists are saying. See that? You see how I got myself out of that?
That was nice. Yeah. Been doing this a while, have you?
But here's the thing. There's the drama that goes into it. It could not possibly be as simple as here's the bill, these are the guys over at the legislature, and they hem and haw. There was the attempt at a little bit of horse trading on Friday, and then there was a flurry of emails that went out, and B.J. Cruz finally said, I'm done with the horse trading. I'm done trying to put in amendments here that would try to make this bill look more like my bill. And so he threw up his hands. There were others in the room Mike Sinikolas, that said, up, down, vote. Let's go. Come on. Let's just put this thing up, and if it goes, then it goes, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. I don't think it's going to. He actually said, we'll vote it down and then wait until the governor comes through with his fiscal plan on how we're going to deal with a government that is bringing in $70 million less revenue. And that amendment it wasn't an amendment to the bill. It was an amendment to a request made by Joe S. San Augustine to try to get out of the session. He says, we asked questions for which we have not received answers, and we can go around and around and around all day long and find ourselves back in the same place. So, rather than work into the long hours of the night, and I can't blame them, they decided that they were going to recess. And they did. But I think the point is there's a lot of room to take things personally down there. You get the governor that made a few points about Regine Lee, and her response was, there are ways that you can convince me to do things, but intimidating me isn't one of them. Blackmailing. Extortion. I'm sorry. Extortion is the word that she used. Trying to think. And then there was a remark made in another email about Senator San Augustine, quote, has been hired twice by this administration when he needed employment. As a result of his loss in previous elections, he, of all people, should know the gravity of the situation, having worked at the Department of Rev and Tax and the personal consequence of being unemployed. To which... Okay, that one I hate. That one, that's cheap radio thrills. I can hear it already. To which his response was, and there's a written response. When did this come out? An hour ago. To which Joe responded, I was qualified for the position I was hired to do at the Department of Rev and Tax. I exercised my reemployment rights in accordance with the Government of Guam personnel rules and regulations. I was not a political appointee, nor was I an unclassified employee at any time. I am shocked to see the governor would stoop so low to demand my vote as payment for some perceived personal favor. So the question that kept coming back to me, and I don't know if I'm like you in this regard, but as I'm watching this, I know I'm not alone watching it. So I'm WhatsApping, and I'm typing back with a few other people that I know have an interest in this, and say, this feels bigger than just trying to protect 11,000 Government of Guam employees. This feels bigger than that. I mean, the governor going down there telling everybody they got to resign. I mean, I get the drama out of it. It's like with the hearse parked in front of the legislature, but it feels like it is like there's so much effort going into it that there's something bigger than just the 11,000 employees. Well, there's got to be when you start talking about taking the taxes and pushing them off on the other big chunk of the population. So, forgive me if I still want to talk about that. You're welcome to join in, 888-8255. But don't call now, because it's news time. We're KUSG Agana, and this is Fox News.
Back to school for the first time since the shooting. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Students and parents returning to the Florida high school that's been closed since 17 people lost their lives on Valentine's Day. They attended an orientation. Classes resume Wednesday.
We've seen thousands of people silently enter this campus. You can imagine there are parents here today who are fortunate enough to walk back into the school with their child. As we know, so many are grieving and already have buried their children. And we'd like to point out that the school district here tell us that they do plan or would like to demolish the building in which the shooting happened.
Fox's Matt Finn at Stoneman Douglas High School. Dozens of state lawmakers calling on Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel to resign for the response to the attack. Student Kyle Kushop agrees.
He absolutely needs to resign after what happened here. He failed to act on so many different levels, and him himself, he's responsible for this massive failure. This could have been easily stopped both by the FBI and the Sheriff's Department had they acted.
Sheriff Israel saying he has no plans to resign. He also denies reports of multiple officers remaining outside the building while the shooting occurred. President Trump calls a Democratic memo on FBI surveillance a nothing. This weekend, Democrats released their rebuttal to a Republican memo that alleges FBI misconduct during the Russia investigation.
The Democratic memo says raw intelligence reporting by the dossier's author, former British spy Christopher Steele, did not inform the FBI's decision to initiate its counterintelligence investigation in late July 2016. It claims the investigative team received Steele's reporting in mid-September, more than 7 weeks later. It also says DOJ officials used the dossier narrowly.
Fox's Ellison Barber in Washington. Inmates rioting at a privately owned prison between Phoenix and Tucson. Eloy police saying inmates assaulted staff and each other. There are injuries and the situation is not contained. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to think that having someone who will listen is gonna help make it better. I'm realizing that I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I'm realizing that I think that having someone who will listen is going to help make it better. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
A suspected chemical attack in Syria. The interim government Ministry of Health saying 16 people, including 6 children, showed symptoms consistent with a chemical attack. One of the children died. This comes after the UN Security Council demanded an immediate ceasefire.
All of us on this council must do our part to press the Assad regime as hard as we can to comply.
U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley, more than 500 people were said to be killed in a week of intense airstrikes and shelling. California's senior senator wants a 5th term, but the state's Democratic Party doesn't want her.
The state party handing longtime Senator Dianne Feinstein a major rebuke by not voting to give her the party's endorsement. Feinstein's being challenged by California State Senator Kevin De Leon, who's running to the left of the incumbent senator on health care, taxes, and immigration. This weekend, he beat Feinstein by 17 points in the race to get the state's party's endorsement. While neither got 60% that they would have needed to get the endorsement, De Leon's counting the vote as a major victory heading into the June primary.
Fox's Will Carr in Los Angeles. A poll conducted last month shows Feinstein with a wide lead over De Leon. Moderate flooding expected along the Ohio River in Kentucky and Ohio. The river rising 8 feet above flood stage in Cincinnati.
The good news is damage, yes, infrastructure damage, but to people, loss of life, no loss of life. We may have gotten away with one here, but you never can take Mother Nature for granted.
Ohio Governor John Kasich, storms and tornadoes in the central U.S. blamed for at least 5 deaths this weekend. Another super weekend for this superhero.
You're telling me that the king of a third world country runs around in a bulletproof catsuit?
Black Panther keeps the top box office spot, grossing an estimated $108 million. It becomes only the 4th film to hit the $100 million mark in its 2nd weekend. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News Radio.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment, LLC on EPAL Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946. Don't forget to click on to MorricoEquipment.com.
It's Triple J's out with the old and in with the new sales event going on now. Get unbelievable savings on all remaining 2017s, plus many 2018s. Take advantage of our best pricing on all Hondas, Acuras, Fords, Mazdas, Lincolns, Volvos, Kias, and used cars. New cars as low as $137 per paycheck, and used cars as low as $80 per paycheck. Plus no payments for 90 days, 0 down and 1.9% financing on approved credit. Visit us online at triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. Trade-ins welcome. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J Auto Group. Customers first.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muña on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
The Ray Gibson Show. Any speaker, anytime. Watch and listen live on thepoint.gu.
You can reach out to me from thepoint.gu, but frankly, I spend more time in the social media than I do in the email. So if you really want to catch my attention, just message me at Facebook, and I'll be able to get back to you. And that's, frankly, is how a number of communications are made. Incoming and outgoing conversations is with somebody pinging me on Facebook, getting my attention, and I go, yeah, it is something I would like to talk about on the radio. Portions of the program brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant's always open, always local. And so here we are, beginning of another hour. While I have another opportunity, welcome aboard to some folks who have been sponsors of the Ray Gibson shows in the past. And now that I'm on this radio station, happy to report that Security Title is among our list of advertisers here, making sure you actually own the property you think you just bought. That's important. That's the whole idea behind it. Is there's a lot, especially in a town like Guam, where everybody is intermingled and intermarried, and so-and-so said he gave this property to such and such a long time ago, so I'm going to try to sell it, and then you come to find out that the deed isn't worth the paper that it was written on. And that's important, especially if you're going to be putting down the kind of dough that is required to buy a house, sell a house, get a loan these days. In fact, I know a lot of banks that work with Security Title just because they're good. They know where to find that information. So where do I get to go this hour? Let me start off with the invitation. 888-8255. That number again is 888-TALK, but it's 8255 on the phone. I give you the number a little bit more than often because we have to develop new habits here. I know there used to be one way to call me on the phone. That was before, another place. This is now, new place, new telephone number, 888-8255. Now, you're welcome to call me if you're going to agree with me, but you are also... Well, you're more than welcome to call me if you're going to agree with me. You call me up and say, Gibson, that was the most brilliant thing I've ever heard on the radio, period.
They might get a gift certificate for that.
Possible.
Maybe.
Possible. Or call in and disagree. I'm happy to defend my position.
Get 2 gift certificates for that.
But you got to win. You got to pin me. You got to pin me, babe. But that's the way that works. But use that if you want to reach out. And if for no other reason to say, you know, I've been watching what's going on, and I have an opinion about this. And if you don't think that your opinion counts, trust me, I know that this station is picked up in departments and agencies and offices of movers and shakers and headline makers all over Guam. And you can tell. You can tell when things that I say find their way in interviews on other radio stations. That's how you can tell that this program has got some legs. So if you want to get heard, this is a good way to do it. Now, in the meantime, while you're deciding whether you want to get heard or not, I know some of you are, I want to get heard, but it's going to cost me my job. No, it won't. No, it won't. Just pinch your nose. Even more so on FM than it was on AM. That will disguise your voice sufficient so nobody will know it's you. Just don't use some of the same kind of language that you normally would. If you've got some phrases that you use all the time, just try to drop those while you're on the phone with me. And that should sufficiently provide the anonymity that we need here. Especially if you're working in one place and you're supposed to be all in for one guy, one girl team. But that's not your team. That's not the ones that you like. It's worse in the private sector, isn't it? All right. So let me move forward on things that have been sent to me. I was talking with Bobby Shringy. He works over at Moylan's Insurance, but the other thing that he does is he's works with the Guam Chamber of Commerce. And what he likes to do with the Guam Chamber of Commerce is be the guy that reads every document, every bill that is proposed over at the legislature and comes up with a position on whether or not this is good for the majority of chamber members. This is what Bobby's good at. And so he has looked at all of the measures that have been proposed. And I like the point that he made is, this is nice. We got a plan A from the governor. We have a plan B from the legislature. But what we really need now at this point, because it doesn't look like we've got the votes for either one, is a plan C on what we're going to do. Now, the guys over at the chamber have been making a noise more loudly and have been joined by a number of other people in the community who are speaking a little bit more loudly. Oh, yeah. Huh. Let me just type something in real quick to my producer and see if I can get something like this going. Just hold on, just humor me here.
You have high confidence in my ability to read.
Oh, it's plain English.
Oh, okay.
No, it's all right. Just plain English. But a growing chorus of people who are at this point saying, you know what, we've done everything the old way with the business privilege tax. Maybe a sales tax is going to be the way to go. So if you do have to raise taxes on people, if there is going to be this conversation about an increase in taxes that folks pay in virtually every transaction that we need to make in the government of Guam, let's do a visible sales tax. Tom Shea's wild about the idea. People that follow Tom Shea on Facebook are wild about the idea. And the guys over at the chamber are wild about the idea. My friend Bob writes in, he says, actually, Ray on the WhatsApp. Actually, Ray, a good solution would be a hybrid. Drop the business privilege tax to the absolute minimum required to support the bonds, whether that be 1.5%, 2%, or whatever, but then only for the purpose of paying the bonds back. Then have a sales tax for everything else. If it needs to be 5% or 6% or whatever, it would support all of their government operations as needed. It could be a little lower and cover everything we buy, or a little higher with exemptions for food and drugs and medical care. Interesting. I had not pondered that. Where maybe, maybe we'll talk to Jay over at Gita. Maybe that's the solution here, is marry just as much BPT as will be required to meet the obligations of the notes for the borrowing that we did based on the business privilege tax, and then convert everything else to the sales tax. And we'd kind of have both. Where will this get screwed up at? Because I don't think it'll get screwed up on the register side. The businesses will still make their business privilege tax or their GRT reports. and they would have another one run parallel with whatever the transactions were on the on the consumer side, on the sales tax side. That would be interesting to see if we could make a go of something like that. But how would that work over at the Department of Revenue and Taxation? You know, would it be the same thing, or would they have a bunch of guys that only looked at GRT and a bunch of guys that only looked at the sales tax? And that's another conversation that eventually we're going to have is, you know, what is the impact going to be on the guys over at the Department of Revenue and Taxation? Regardless of which direction we go, are they ready? Are they set up to be able to keep track of all of the different business privilege tax, all the new sales taxes and the provisions that would have to come in? So it's a thought. We'll play around with it on a variety of subjects, from comments that have been made. And I don't see these, unfortunately, in real time. I can if I look, but I've got a bunch of other things in front of my eyeballs, so I can't keep surveillance on the comments that are made on Facebook. But there's some interesting ones that fell along with the stream. A good morning from Dennis Borja, Father Duenas graduate, living in Texas, I believe. And we were talking a little bit earlier about Saipan and the apparent great luck that they are having with the casino that they've got there. Used to be small, now it's big, revenues in the billions of dollars a month. And there's everybody in the world saying, that's impossible. How are they doing that? See, Saipan's always been an interesting place, hasn't it? Now, that conversation goes along because it was part of a question, you know, about the casino up in Saipan. It was part of a question that was asked by guys that went to the Rotary meeting who were interested in a Bloomberg News Service story last week, which suggested the possibility of money laundering at the resort, given the more than $2 billion in bets that the casino is reportedly handling on a monthly basis. Now, Bloomberg has since been sued for asking the question in as public way as they did. Isn't that funny? So this will be fun to watch. But annoying, though, and I've been in press conferences and I've been at meetings with Rotary guys with FBI guys in the past. And that is the king of frustration right there. Because you want to ask questions. Are you looking at corruption? Have you talked to so-and-so? And they say, well, we can neither confirm nor deny that there is an ongoing yada, yada, yada investigation on so-and-so and such and the subject of corruption. Next question. Well, that takes all the wind out of the sails. No, we want names. Don't come here and eat our lunch if you're not going to leave with some names of something interesting. Personally, I just like to see that kind of thing. But I don't know what's going to happen, and they would not divulge whether or not they had anything active going on up in Saipan with the casino place that they've got up there. But ripe with conversation here on Guam, because there is the possibility that there could be a casino conversation here locally. Would that help bail the government out of its government of Guam out of its present issues here if we had some kind of licensed gaming places? I don't know. We've seen the issue pop up and down, but this time it feels like it's got a little bit more substance to it because Eddie Calvo brought it up here on the radio this time last week. So I'm curious about where that's going to go. Will it be as successful as dog racing initially was? I remember I used to go to the dog racing place for a lot. I never bet on the dogs. But there used to be a dog racing place down the street from Dr. Shea's place. I never bet on the dogs because I'm not good at gambling. And as near as I could tell, the guys that did bet on the dogs would read the little magazine there. And then the other thing that they would do is if the dog took a poop while it was out walking around, pre-race, they'd say that's the one that you bet on because it's lighter. You know who I got that from? Jeff Pleadwell, who's on the phone with me now. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Ray.
How you been?
I'm fine, thank you.
How's pirate business? Any good?
Oh, it's busy and busy. You know, these South Koreans are the greatest tourists to ever come to Guam because they get out and spend money outside of Tumon.
They on their own and without any hesitation, these guys will just get their smartphones charged up, put them up on the dashboard, and drive to some of the spots that we've got here. And what I'm told, Jeff, is that they've got a social media like we do here, and if someplace like Jeff Pirates Cove gets a good mark for a cheeseburger or barbecued ribs, then everybody that comes in from Korea has to now make a pilgrimage to Pirates Cove for the cheeseburger and the ribs, right?
Yeah, they told me that we're famous in Korea.
How about that? Well, I'm glad.
Japan, but not on Guam.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Let us get famous here. I'm not in the club.
Oh, hold on a second, because you know that there's no greater fan of a cheeseburger from Pirates Cove than me, and I know that Shelley will with at the drop of a hat, at the mere suggestion, get in the car and drive down to go see you. So, you do appreciate it. There is a little bit of fame among some of your big fans here on Guam.
Yeah, Shelley and your brother and all your friends and relatives and contingents and listening audience, they love the cheeseburger here.
I like it for a number of reasons, because you don't spend a whole lot of time dressing it up and screwing it up. It's just, here's a cheeseburger, you're going to enjoy it. We put our logo on the bun. That's really all you need to do. Have that in a cold beer, and that takes away virtually all of the troubles. Now, before I get into any questions about the economy, government of Guam, this loan, not the loan, but the tax idea, I did want to ask about how often are you finding those Japanese glass floaters?
The glass fish balls.
Yes.
I found 2 the other day. This is a time to find them. And also, this is a time for people to really be aware that these Portuguese not men, man of war, are floating in with all these floats. Most of the floats are plastic. But everything this time of year ends up on shore because there's huge surf out there. There's winds, and when the tide is high, things get washed up into the grass and into the sand.
Sure.
And I see so many people come here, and they let their kids run down to the beach, and if they start playing with these little blue bubbles, it's going to ruin their vacation.
Ouch.
And it's happened, if you get stung by these man of war, kids will dig a hole in their skin and don't want to go to emergency. So people be aware that, there's hazards not just in the ocean, on the shore as a result of these winds and high surf. They're blue, they're a bubble, they have a long tail, some of them.
And they'll sting you even out of the water. They can give you a healthy sting.
And that's what I was going to say. Even if they're clear and dead, they'll still sting you.
And what's worse for the kids is, the arms are purple and pretty colors. And as a kid, we had them in Texas as well. So as a kid, you want to go and pick it up
Play
and see
with
what it is. Yeah,
looks like a toy.
Not a good thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask about that is I remember growing up where there was it seemed like every house that you'd go to in the front yard or somewhere had at least 1 or 2 of those Japanese floater balls. And you don't see them as much as you do. And I noticed in a couple of your more recent posts that, as you said, you found 2 in one day. That's got to be something.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, not totally the reason why I called, but it's always nice to know that there's still something going on there. If you do get into some kind of trouble, pray that you are around Pirates Cove, because otherwise help is far, far away when you're on that side of the island. If you get in trouble in the water out there, God help you if you're not near Pirates Cove, because there's not a whole lot of places where it's easy and safe to launch some of the rescue vehicles there.
There isn't any. They took it away at Elik.
Yeah, and they never replaced it, which...
Yeah, and it's very important. If there was ever a big disaster on this side of the island, rescuers have to come from Agate. And if the swell is big at Cocos, it's going to be a problem. But
hard to get around.
This is a discussion, and this is just another thing where the government continues to fail the people of Guam like every single thing else. And then they want to raise, right? Or they want to keep everybody working. Where's the results, Ray?
But we had a good time at FestPac.
Well, we always have a good time because there's no responsibility on spending the money. Just find it or run a tab and, let it roll. But when you got to pay for it and there's no money, now it's a problem. And let's go to the people, the poor people of Guam, who pay for a government that they get the worst power, the worst water, hospital problems, bad roads, education. I hire people come here. They have to have their friends help them fill out an application sometimes.
Oh, I've had that.
And, it's just that if the government of Guam was providing us with all these essential services and everything was good, I wouldn't really complain too much giving them more money. But as long as things stay the same and some departments like the port, the airport, have so many employees, and then places like the Guam Fire Department doesn't have enough rescue, and the hospital has too many people, but they don't have anybody responsible to run it right, like Bill McMillan tried with getting rid of 200 employees, and they crucified that guy. It's just, there's nothing fair. It's all politics, Ray, all politics.
Well, so that's the basis of the conversation here. I know you're not nuts about an increase in the taxes, but would it be better for you as a businessman here if that tax increase, even if it was just for a short time, came along with a permanent change in the way we do business here by going into a visible sales tax situation? How would that affect your business?
It should have always been that way, Ray. This GRT, this hidden tax, it's discriminatory, it's not cool. The people down in Tumon that are doing business think that, hidden tax, I'm going to hide it. So they hide it. And I don't think many people in businesses that, I just think that there's a lot of people not paying their taxes, Ray. And I think that if you put it at the register and you say, here, your total is $100 and it's $5 more for the sales tax, much, much better.
Because it's right there. It's in the register. It's on the receipt. And that's part of the report that you need to send back to the Department of Revenue and Taxation.
Yeah, and then for me, like a business, I could set up an account just for that money and very easily pay it every month instead of digging out of all my other resources when sales are slow and having to come up to pay this government for fluctuating power. And my water bill's $2,000, Ray. I have to change the filter every month because it's full. I thought it was mud. It's rust. So here's GWA building huge treatment facilities and lines and $70 million bonds, but the people of Guam, us, cannot have clean water.
Part of that is the federal government and the demands that's placed on GWA and with the consent decrees and work that we have to do to make sure that practically the water that comes out of the back end of our waste treatment is as good as the water that comes out of the tap. And so I think as a result of the spend over in that one direction, we're not putting enough resources perhaps into distribution. And so at some point it will be. The water that comes out of the tap will be just as brown as the water that comes out of the back end of the wastewater treatment plant.
Well, if you don't go and change all these pipes on the island, and when there's a problem, upgrade it and fix it, make it better right then, it's the same continual problem. And as long as you have people who are not really, really, really experts running things, you're going to have problems.
We'll get Miguel down there. He's the boss of the shop over at GWA. Maybe he can go and take a look at your pipes and find out how far back in the cascade
it is. Nothing's going to happen, Ray. This is Guam. I've been here 55 years. Nothing's going to happen, okay?
Let me get back to the 2%.
Yeah, let's get back to the 2%.
Because I want to find out if it came down tomorrow, if the guys over at the legislature, what I think is going to happen is they're going to vote down Eddie's bill, and the next thing that they're going to tackle is now this new attention that's been placed on the sales tax. If they came out, notwithstanding any problems that GITA has with the implementation of a sales tax versus the BPT bonds that we've already taken out. what would it take for you to be able to institute that, to get out from under the GRT and then institute the sales tax structure in your business?
Immediate. All these registers are hooked up to be able to put any tax on there. In fact, I'm thinking even if he increases it as a GRT, I'm going to put it on the ticket.
You can still do that.
Well, I haven't done it because, you know, I could live with it before, but now I can't. I mean, I can't. I haven't raised prices in 4 years. I don't want to, but everything around me is going up, and, you know, I don't know, Ray. I just want the government to get efficient. You know, they don't have to have a tax increase if they do things the right way and they spend my money the right way. I mean, how much do you think I pay a month in taxes?
Oh, your place? I couldn't venture a guess. As busy as you are on Sundays, I don't know. Since I spent so much time in the shopping place in the front, because I got to wait, as you say, for those delightful Koreans before they start to clear off some spots.
But it's thousands and thousands that I pay in tax.
Good.
I'm happy to do that. I'm from Massachusetts originally, and we're very used to having, you know, paying taxes. But in Massachusetts, if we had a problem with something, with a water leak or something like that, we would go to a town meeting and we would talk about it, and then it would get fixed real soon or soon enough. But on Guam, you pay all your taxes. You could go to every town meeting for the next 20 years, but nothing is going to be done to fix that problem you've been having because we're not capable.
Or we blew the money someplace else.
The politics have destroyed everything.
I don't know. I keep voting for different guys, but the government keeps getting in.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. You show me one of these candidates that says, let's privatize GPA. Now, I know that GPA is a big problem for me. It ruins my electronics. I have all these surge protectors I have to spend tons of dough on. I have the UPS and anything you can imagine. But still, the feed isn't good. The grounding on the poles is not good. The lines themselves, the poles are crooked. They're never washed off the salt over here in EPAN. Everything about the GPA is dropping to third world. In the meantime, we're saying, oh, let's put it over here next to the hospital and the People's Mall and all this. But let's keep in mind, too, that we blew the roof off the old power plant, so it's not safe anywhere under this current operation of the government, period. Period. You believe that, Ray?
It's an interesting conversation, no? And we still haven't gotten, I think, on to the ground, at least in terms of what I've been paying attention to, on what exactly it was that happened there.
No, it's a simple mistake. It was a maintenance thing, and that's the problem. You know, my uncle and my father both came here for the power plant when the Navy had it. It was run perfectly well. Once the government took it over, overemployment, less efforts in maintenance, overemployment, less efforts in maintenance, and it continues to this day till it blew up the plant. But instead of privatizing it or having our elected people say, you know, this isn't right, that doesn't happen.
Do you suppose, Jeff, that maybe there's enough people that have said enough is enough and would enjoy that conversation again? You remember when the Consolidated Commission on Utilities first came out, when they were a brand new, voted in by the public entity. That was one of the first conversations that they wanted to have, was a privatization of the power company and the water company, and the politics of it, and even without social media, even without a Facebook and trial by Twitter, there were still a lot of people along the coconut wireless that found a way to exercise a formidable no vote. I wonder, with the numbers of avenues for people to be able to make their point and to be heard, I wonder if we could have that conversation again with a different result, because there'd be people that would take advantage of these more democratized vehicles of free speech.
I sure hope so, Ray. I mean, I don't want to die never seeing this island get better, you know. And I've been waiting 55 years, and I'm just like done everything I could, said what I could, ran for office, and it didn't work, Ray.
Well, the problem when you ran for office is the same problem that we have with voter approved or voter initiated initiatives. Is there are too many hurdles that you need to go through as an independent candidate? It seems to me that the rules should apply equally to you as they apply to the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah, well, we should start with fixing up the election system, anyways. I mean, that's the people that are in there are just. They're willing to tolerate it. To me, it's like religion. You know, if you're really willing to do all these things and do all these things, and, you know, you just do it. I don't have the time for that. I live day to day trying to just make my business better and people happy.
All right. Well, one last question has nothing to do with the crisis at the legislature and the governor and the Trump taxes and all of that. I worry that we are not as attractive a destination as we once upon a time were. We've got junk cars in the side of the road within 300 yards of the governor's actual office in the Hurrao Park down at across from Pigu Cemetery. I'm sure that on the way down to Pirates Cove in either direction, there are any number of places where we've got some junk vehicles and just junk, period. And people think that you can't see that from a bus. You can't see it from a rent-a-car, but you can.
Even Tumon itself. I mean, you need to start at the Nico and go all the way to the Hilton and just clean up the property and put in better drainage and make the building owners take pride. Actually, Ray, here's my solution. You know, I have the answer to everything, right?
I know. That's why I call you.
The Guam Visitors Bureau gets like 11%, right?
Yes.
Of the hotel tax. What do they do with that money, Ray?
A big chunk of it went to all of the fix-ups that we did in Agantya. You remember they took a whole bunch of hot bond, took out a hot bond and did some fixing up in Agantya.
Yeah, well, let's start with Tumon and let's, you know, tell the property owners that they have to do this. But what we need to do is say, okay, GVB.
Well, yeah, but that's how long did it take us to get the gun club demolished after how many years after it had that fire? You remember?
Yeah.
Oh, forever.
A lot of places. I go to Tumon almost every day. It's a mess down there, and this is what represents you, Guam, to most people. They don't get to Pirates Cove. Maybe only 1% even go around the island of all the tourists that come here. What's that all about, Elfie? 1%? Okay, let's get back to GVB, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Give GVB half and let the hotels have half of their tax back. And tell them they have to use that tax to renovate the hotel, to clean it up, to build and make it better. GVB is wasting the money they're paying them, right? It's a cocktail party for the governor, GVB. It's a, you know, I have asked GVB to help me how many times with, like, supporting me here because I provide restrooms and I provide information and I rescue people and I do things that I think I should do. But I've asked them to help. They're like, you know, Jeff, we're glad you're a member, but, you know, thanks for taking care of people. We're going to spend our money on our own club, our own gang over here that we always spend our money with. We're going to do the same things. Oh, and if we do a trade show, we want you to come, but we want you to pay $600 and plus buy your ticket. Come on, Ray. Those trade shows are BS. You know, if you knew how much I know about tourism on Guam, you'd go crazy already.
Well, High Touch, which is the way we started all those years ago. In the very beginning, it was a few maverick tourists that found their way off a Pan Am flight from between Haneda and Guam and got off the airplane. Didn't really have too much by way of accommodations, but found themselves in front of locals and the local tradition of here, come here, here's a plate of red rice and chicken and ribs and a cold drink. And that's how tourism took off here. And I think, tend to forget that we need more high touch as opposed to high tech, which is why I'm glad to see as many pictures of you with your customers wherever they're from. Jeff, as usual, you've got me thinking, and maybe that'll lead to some more conversation down the road.
Okay, Ray, just become the media that everybody can tune to. There's no set thing. You got so many newspapers and so many radio stations, and just keep it open so everybody could voice and everybody listens, and then maybe we'll all get on the same page somehow.
That's what I'm working on, buddy.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Thanks.
I'll see you soon. Well, come down and we'll talk about it over a cheeseburger and a cold beer.
I'm all for that.
Right?
I've been down there. Yeah, it's ooh.
Go down there.
just
I
drool
always
on
have
myself.
somebody else drive. And it's not because I'll sit there and have too many cold ones. It's because I'll sit there and I'll go into a food coma. And I always talk about the burgers. But while I have the chance, I have a love for fried parrotfish.
Okay.
I mean, it's a love, and for the same reason why I like a cheeseburger, because it's so hard to screw up.
Right.
It's a fish.
Yeah.
You can put it in a boiling oil, and it can bring it out 10 minutes later, and you can eat everything. And the parrotfish, practically everything is edible. You eat the eyeballs and then work your way back until you got a couple of bones left to pick it out of your teeth. That's the whole idea, and they do such a great job with that over at Pirates Cove. 9:41 in the morning. And the producer is sending me into a break. I still have not played it for you, and I don't know. I'll let it run for a little bit and hope that he gets to the point, and if not, I'll unceremoniously fast forward to the point where Eddie Calvo begins to tell the people at the legislature that if they don't pass his measure as dropped off by the guys, then they ought to resign their position. I'll share that with you probably on the other side of these messages.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here. For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manila on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manila. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
In celebration of 42 years with you, the AB Wonpat International Airport Authority is giving one lucky winner a $1,500 travel voucher to fly anywhere United Airlines flies. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram to enter. Do both and check out the details to increase your chance of winning. It's our way of saying thanks for trust and support in your airport. So what are you waiting for? Like, follow, and fly today. Guam International Airport, celebrating 42 with you.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind. Even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
All right, what have I got in front of me here from the email? Well, I'll get to the emails in a second. Portions of the program brought to you by Calvo Select Care, Micronesia Renewable Energy, Family Finance, American President Lines, KFC, the Sheraton Laguna Resort, Kings, Ruby Tuesdays, Subway, Chili's, American Water Tech, Cold Stone, and Wendy's, the Bang of Guam, Triple J Motors. I got Take Care and Welcome Aboard Security Title. Great to have you along for the ride when you absolutely need confidentiality in your real estate transaction. These are the guys to go to. And why would you need confidentiality? You know why? Because people buy and sell some really big things around here.
Yeah.
And in some cases, these are you want a little bit of privacy in this deal, because the last thing that you want is to be making a deal on a target, a piece of property, and then some yahoo over at the legislature finds out about it and wants to make a big story and try to get themselves reelected based on giving you a hard time. So mum's the word. And you can get that assurance. I was telling you that the portions of the program brought to you by my friends over at Wendy's. They've got the cod fillet sandwich. Wonder if we can get enough. Wonder if we can get enough. This is a cod fillet. I wonder if the same kind of white meat as a parrotfish. Anyway, Wendy's with their wild-caught North Pacific cod breaded with panko crumbs. Then they fry that up to a light crisp, drizzled in a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crispy pickles crunch. Sour, yum, Wendy's, cod fillet, now that's better. All right, so told you I was going to go and take a look at some of the things that are in front of me. It is 9:46, and what I like to refer to as the small talk portion of the show. But before I get into any of the further small talk, a note here from the guys over at the Chamber. The Guam Chamber of Commerce is holding its monthly general membership meeting Wednesday at Micronesian Ballroom at the Hilton Guam Resort and Spa. The meeting will feature the Department of Labor's Greg Massey, their Alien Labor Processing and Certification Division Administrator, who will provide the membership with an update on the H-2B visa program. This is good news that I hope that Greg is going to be able to deliver down there about a lot of guys in the construction game and a lot of us that need a degree of construction, whether it's for the office or whether it's for the house or both. Because we need a nice reception area, man. At any rate, it's hard to do that with the existing bodies that we have on the ground. The costs have escalated, and it'd be nice if we could get our hands on some H-2B guys around here to be able to spread that work among a larger crowd. And there's a part of me that says that when we have these conversations with Greg about H-2Bs and getting construction back to where it's supposed to be, back to where it's traditionally been in this town, I know that there's guys that breathe a little bit easier and go, you know, the government of Guam can do whatever it is that the government of Guam needs to do because it has no effect on me because I'm so far outside of that. I just, pay my withholding and pay my GRTs, and that's it. I don't have to care about any of that political drama that goes on because I got this construction thing happening, and it's bigger than all of those little dramas that they have, these little passions that they have. So I wonder if some of these guys are happy to see the return of the H2 processing process come back to town so they can spend less time wondering about what decisions are going to get made at Adelup and over at the legislature that are going to affect their business. I had tried to do this earlier today, but had the wrong Gazauda all set up on my system, and I think I've got it right now. So what I'd like to do is to play, for those of you that have only heard about the governor's statements, kind of ad hoc statements that he made to the legislature last week, but haven't actually heard him say it, I thought I'd, in the interests of making sure that both sides get out, play them for you. So let me see if I can do this. Click on that. And there's now on the screen a picture of me talking, and there's Eddie, who is about to talk.
The reason I introduced the bill is because I thought we'd have 8 sponsors to it. And I knew November, okay, nothing. December, nothing. January, nothing. I'm sorry if I surprised anybody, but my responsibility first and foremost was not any Calvo family business, not the business community. It was being governor and a hospital that was going down the tank. And if it goes down the tank, that means people's lives, not just jobs, it means lives. in all sincerity, that's why I introduced the bill. And I'm hopeful now, I got the heat for it, and I understand. Businesses were upset. So the reason for tying the hospital into Bill 245, it's because the can was kicked and kicked and kicked until the crisis that was not our making, and it intersected. The question I have, as I know some of you, I don't like to raise taxes. I'm doing it because we have to. People criticize me for equalization. Most of this is equalization. Just a little bit more to fund that hospital. And because our people committed to work with the schools. But since the Chamber of Commerce, that I'm going to be a member with in a year, I hope you, the members of the Chamber of Commerce, will allow me in. But when corporate Guam has already received a nearly 50% cut in their income taxes, and when corporate Guam now gives their paychecks to every employee, including Gov Guam giving their checks to every employee, whatever you see in additional money is not because of a raise by corporate Guam. It's because of a tax code that has changed and a government is taking less. They've already had, since the immediate ratification of this law, and I don't know how every one of their fiscal years ends, but whatever they calculated in pricing and costing and operational expenses, it had been done long before they even considered a President Trump. Long before they had even considered a Congress cutting their taxes in half. Where is the tax decrease? I mean, where are the cuts in the prices? And I'm sure maybe like what happened in the United States, everybody got a bonus in some of these companies. Everybody got a pay increase in a lot of these companies. But as Bobby Shiringi and the Chamber of Commerce criticize us, I'm sure the calculations on income taxes that were made in the beginning of the year, whatever their year, that wasn't taken in consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, the only tax aside from this hospital that I've endorsed was a liquid fuel tax. Thank you, Senator Morrison, and all of you have voted for it. I did a little history, amazing. The liquid fuel tax was instituted decades ago. But it came to a price of 11 cents a gallon, 11 cents a gallon in 1983. Guess who the governor of Guam was? My dad, Governor Paul Calvo. 11 cents a gallon. So when you bought a gallon of gas in Guam in 1983, it was $1.50. And you had the 11 cents in there. It's the 11 cents was part of this tax. I mean, the cost. So $1.50 a gallon, and it's an 11 cents a gallon tax. You do the math on what percentage of the government's share of that gallon of gas, and that government's share then goes to keep our roads in order, to keep them fixed. Now, bodies in the past, of course, as the decades have gone, bodies in the past have taken some of that and used it to fund our beautiful UOG and GCC. Hey, we got to reconsider that. But before it went from 11 to 14 cents, you folks, that ain't ancient history. That's recent history. It was $4 a gallon. So you go $4 a gallon, and you tell me 11 cents of the pie goes to fix our roads that now have 185,000 cars. And by the way, when my dad was governor, we barely had 100,000 people. And the chamber is going to criticize us for inflation Well, when it was 11 cents back in '83 at $1.50, and taxes haven't gone up on a gallon of gas until just recently to fix our roads, don't blame the tax for $4 a gallon. So when we went up to 14 cents a gallon, there's going to be a lot of good.
Sometimes this is the problem when doing this is you get portions of the program where you're going, okay, well, what time is it, Eddie? And then he tells you how to make a watch. And I think we're at that point. I was trying to fast forward to see if there was a way that I could get to the fireworks portion, and let me see if I can scooch past this this conversation about taxes and see what else he's got. Go ahead, bring it back up.
Census. That's why I sent that letter. Let's see what we can do. What can we do? Where we can find the savings. This thing hit us like a left hook. I'm just asking for breathing room in the 2%, and then find a way to solve this problem that wasn't created by us. But if it's going to be no amendments, just a vote top and down, and we know what the result will be, because of something not of our creation, and because of whether it's $67 million for the remainder of this year or $100+ million for a full next year, it means not only cutting of services, it's me, the guy whose buck stops here, that's going to have to issue out the furlough notices and the layoff notices. It won't be you. It'll be me. When I was at Pepsi, the last thing I would do is hit our people. If I had to cut this or cut that or raise a price for a case of Pepsi, yeah, I would risk the raising of the case of Pepsi price before I lay off my people. Well, if enough people are of the same belief, vote up or down, no consensus, not working with the administration, then I will be forced to do it. I will be forced to cut this government down. I will be forced to lay off people. But ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow public servants, if I am forced to do that, and you do not come up with the solutions, the same as I said to Senator Lee, if every one of you don't have a solution, then I'm asking for your resignations. I believe as public servants, if we serve the people, and we can't treat GovGuam employees like they're some subhuman, if you're going to allow me that responsibility for signing someone's layoff, I'm looking at every one of you straight in the eye and say, resign. Because you did not work with this administration to keep this government stable and to keep this economy moving forward. I'm sorry I'm saying it with a little passion, but since you wanted me to say it, I said it, and I'm now looking for any comments or questions, and I'm ready to hear your questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr.
Governor Eddie Calvo making not a unheard of presentation over at the legislature. Has happened at least once before, and I can't recall what the crisis at that time was, but he did it again on Friday and incurred the wrath and ire of Telena, also Regine, and in other comments that she had made to the media later on. Let me see here. BJ was upset about some of the other conversations that were going on and press releases that had come out of the governor's office. And so that's about where things left off on Friday. After that, they talked around for a little bit, but largely decided to hold off until about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Well, the thinking is at 2 o'clock this afternoon, the governor's rocket scientists and economic brainiacs are going to get together, provide whatever information it is still that the guys over at the legislature want, and then maybe they'll vote on it. Maybe they'll vote on it tomorrow, is what the conventional wisdom looks like right now. As usual, the Newsies will keep an eye on things and let you know what happens first thing in the morning. We are KUSG Hagutnya, headquarters for live, hourly Fox News. I said live because it is coming right off the network into your ears in just seconds. It's Monday, so I don't have Brian Kilmeade coming up, but we got some great Monday programming that's fun to listen to right here on The Point.
facing the trauma head on. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
All I want is to see something change. Like, it's just so, like, it makes me angry. Like, first I was sad, and now I'm angry.
Students and parents returning to the Florida school for the first